Hey guys, welcome back to the Genesa ThoughtLab Podcast. Good to see you again.
So great to see you. This episode features one of the coolest photographers that we have in Calgary. I guess two of the coolest photographers we have in Calgary. Phi Vernon of Third Eye Arts and Lindsay Dunlop of I guess she goes by the Raven's Gaze. And I guess she should just change her name to Raven.
She does prefer Raven,
suits it.
Yes.
They both do. They're monikers.
We decided to redo this podcast. We had originally recorded about an hour and a half to 2 hours beforehand, but when we recorded it, we did it right after the Defunct podcast, and we were already halfway into about a 2.6 of vodka. And by the time we were done the last time sitting down with them, we had finished the bottle plus a number of other beers. So needless to say, it was not very coordinated. It was not very well worded. And so we decided to scrap it and do it again.
Yeah, well, one of the reasons that we wanted to scrap it was because we were still having the audio glitch from working with Ableton. For some reason, we were having weird little glitches every 15 minutes in the recording of the audio. I think we ran out of batteries on the camera. It was just one of those, whatever, like they live in Calgary, let's do it again. So
we're learning, and we have learned.
So this is definitely, we got everything dialed. The video looks great. The audio sounds
better
great
now.
Yeah.
There's been a little bit of a delay in our putting out of the podcast. We realized we've had a little more amount of technical difficulties. We realized that water and computer technology does not mix. We've lost a little bit of editing and files, but we are back on track now. So we got the computer back, I think, tomorrow. Yeah. We'll be able to finish up rendering, and we'll be able to release these podcasts finally. Thanks for your patience.
Yeah. Thank you for your patience. At some point, we'll stop apologizing for our mistakes. All right. Well, enjoy this one. Yeah, this was fun. So, have at her.
Genesa ThoughtLab Video Podcast.
Welcome everybody to the next installment of the Genesa ThoughtLab Podcast. We're sitting here with Phi and Lindsay from Third Eye Arts and Raven's Gaze, two epic and amazing photographers here in our hometown of Calgary, chilling in our little podcast basement setup.
Which has been a blast. This is the most fun thing we've done in years, I think. Yeah. I guess, should we allude to the fact that we did this before?
Yeah, we tried to do this before. That was an interesting time. We decided on good conscience to not release that one. There was a lot of vodka involved, and
let's not have the vodka this
also,
time.
It was still.
But we have instead.
It was the fourth one that we recorded, and it was still a part of the batch that had the little weird audio glitches, and I think we lost camera at the end. It was just like, whatever. They live here. Let's do it again. So
there's a lot of giggling,
a lot of giggles, a lot of cats,
a lot of distractions,
a lot of crying,
a lot of yelling, screaming, Panic at the Disco.
Yeah.
Panic at the Disco.
And at least for this one, for the people viewing on YouTube, we have Phi's website on Slideshow.
She's in it.
Yeah, and which is actually something we wanted to do last time. We couldn't figure out how to do it. I mean, it's like programming your VCR. Putting a website on Slideshow is pretty simple. But
I'm also doodling, so if you hear scratchy noises, it's just me. It's fine.
Keep it down.
Keep it down.
I'll also allude to the fact that I have no idea how to program a VCR either, so...
Dude, that's because it's ancient technology.
What's a VCR?
Who even does that anymore?
VCR?
What does that stand for?
Actually, how often do you come by a VCR in your daily lives now?
In Value Village, in the section of things no one wants. Realistically.
Should make sure that you talk into the microphone.
Yeah, sorry. Again, doodling. Distracted
here.
by doodles. Can I lift this up? Is that okay?
You can do whatever you want with it. Get comfy.
There we go. Now I can doodle and talk. Yay!
I can hardly walk and chew gum at the same time. You're ahead of me.
Multitasking for the
Well,
win.
Phi and Lindsay are known in Calgary for their photography art. Phi is known as Third Eye Arts, and he has this amazing website as well as many other ventures on the go. I'm going to try and talk about a bunch of those. Lindsay, how long ago was it when you decided to?
I think that was something that happened this summer.
This summer?
Yeah.
When your moniker transitioned to the Ravens
Yeah,
Gaze?
spring, I decided that I needed a handle and a logo before festival season so that I could have something and not just be like Lindsay Dunlop Photography, because I didn't want that. And this lovely human helped me whittle down a name and made my logo because he's so fancy and awesome. And yeah, and it's really fitting, so yeah.
You were taking pictures the last time that we all hung out at Tunnel Mountain. Didn't you have a camera?
Tunnel Mountain, was that when we went on that adventure? to the
Yeah.
mountains and
And
everyone
you were like
walked into the
freaking
spots?
out at every single dog that walked by.
Yeah, that sounds like me. Yeah, I actually found those recently. I was like skimming through the catacombs of all the old pictures I've taken and didn't end up looking at. And I found a bunch of old photos that I will eventually get to and put out at some point because there's a lot of fun little gems in there from that adventure. It's good.
She likes dags.
Yeah.
I
I like
like
what?
dags.
Dags.
That caravan.
There's also a really cute puppy sitting in the corner staring at nothing right now, just so everyone knows.
Yeah, she's adorable.
Yeah. He's like, what
Hello,
in
Missy.
the fuck?
And she's like
Call her
captivated
over
by
to
your
get her over
website.
here.
Yeah, super confused about
Super
what's
cute.
going on right now.
So, you went to school for for what and for how long?
So I was at ACAD for 6 years.
6 years.
And I had no idea that I was going into photography when I went in. There are a number of different paths that you can go, and that was not on my list. And so I was either planning to do media arts and digital technologies, also known as MAD-T, or design.
Be a MAD-T
And I wasn't
site.
really sure. So I was taking a bunch of MAD-T classes and a bunch of design courses. And MAD-T is everything digital that you can think of. So it was 3D modeling and animation, movable objects, audio, video, pretty much anything digital that you can manipulate. And one of them was digital photography. But I was also taking a bunch of design courses like color theory, design fundamentals, design drawing, everything like that. But the digital photography really hit me over the head, right? It was just like falling in love, where
Yeah.
the moment you try it out and it hits you, and that's it. You're done, right? And you're like, oh my God, this is what I'm going to do. Someone showed me Photoshop and I had an SLR and started putting some things together like that couldn't possibly exist. And I was like, yes, this is what I want to do. I want to make stuff that can't actually happen in the real world. And this is such a tool that I can make things happen in combination with the real world and real people that actually exist.
Yeah.
And make the real world into art and not just kind of paint things
Yeah.
that don't
well,
exist.
that one shot, I think it's one of the most iconic. I think you had prints of it when I first met you, and it's one of the ones I think that's close to the start of the website. The guy that's missing his head and there's just a puff of smoke coming out.
Smoke man.
Smoke man.
Smoke man.
It's like, how do you make a photo like that? Actually,
Magic.
So
Magic, that's how.
the Smoke Man image was my final project of photography. It was my final portfolio piece, and what I did, I actually shot that on a medium format film camera. So it was, one of those old school large cameras. I had my cousin model, and we went into a restaurant, and I had him sit. Yep. And so I shot him with the medium format film camera, and then I went and had the film scanned in at VizTech and put onto a CD, and I took that digital image and I photoshopped it from there. I shot smoke separately against a black background, and I erased the head and overlaid the smoke instead. And a lot of people say they see a face in there, but that wasn't intentional if there was, but a lot of people see a face.
Well, just immediately, like with the power of suggestion, I kind
There's
of
a word for
Yeah.
that.
can see it.
And I love that. I love that other people see things that I didn't intend, right? That's a kind of co-creation thing. You can make something, but you can't have control over what people get from it or
Yeah.
what they think of it. And they'll impose their own kind of
Yeah.
thoughts and ideas over the image.
Well, are you familiar with the film 2001: A Space Odyssey by Stanley Kubrick? Okay, one of the most
Oh, yeah.
like the first time that I showed it to Callie, I remember she was kind of awestruck at the end. She had like a moment of sitting around being like what the hell? Like a giant W, like what the fuck? And I decided to go past my own personal interpretation of the movie, and we looked on the internet to see what was Kubrick's vision, like what was the actual sought after vision for this movie. And a lot of the interviews actually had Kubrick saying that he didn't want to.
There's your friend. Sorry. Good.
A lot of the interviews said that like Kubrick didn't really want to allude to what the movie really meant, and he really didn't have to, or like he didn't want to explain everything, because the reference that he made was if the Mona Lisa had a caption underneath it, like saying what was on her mind, then there would be millions of times less allure. There would be like you'd strike the imaginative element from that piece of art.
Yeah,
So-
and there's entire websites dedicated to like the afterthoughts of the movie, like what could have happened, what the child at the end was supposed to represent, and all this other crazy stuff.
And this is what I really do actually try to work with in a lot of my artwork. A lot of really good art will leave you with more questions than it will answer, right? If it just tells you, then it's done. The story's over. It was completed. Someone said exactly what happened, and it's over, and you walk away from it. But something that has an unanswered question keeps you coming back to it, right? You keep sitting and looking at it and keep trying to dissect it. I actually did a project with this exact concept in mind, which was 6 frames, and it was a girl walking home late at night. She was first in a bar, kind of sitting by herself alone, and then she was walking through the alley alone, and then she was sitting on the train by herself, and then she was looking back at the camera walking down the street, like, so she was noticing the viewer for the first time. And then there was a blank solid black frame, and then there was an image of her feet hanging out of a dumpster. And so people were staring at that black frame and going, oh my God, what happened in the black frame, right? Like, and the people are going to impose their like most terrible personal fears into that space that you could never, if you just did something in that space and just gave it away and said, this is what happened, someone did this or whatever, there wouldn't be as much interaction with the audience as if you just gave it away. And this is why Playboy was so huge when it started out, right? Because it teased at the information. It left a bunch of stuff up to your imagination, but it didn't just give it all away like Hustler did, right? So it had that element to it of interaction with the viewer that made it so much more powerful with the imagination, right? So there's an element of co-creation that I try to work with a lot if I can.
I heard that Playboy is struggling recently, that they might possibly change their format to actually not have any more full frontal nudity. They'll like have topless photos, but I think they're just trying like radical things. The world of pornography is just a
It's so
freaking mess.
available now, right? It's not
Who
about
wants to
that
pay
anymore.
for boobs anymore?
Yeah, who wants to pay $5 for a magazine where you can see a girl naked when you can go online and watch a video of her
Or I
getting
mean, you like
something dirty
we don't have to
happening.
pay at all. Just look down.
Just naked. naked.
Well, what's I worry about like my sister, like her little kids, like they have easy access to internet. At what point is it? I don't feel like I was pretty young, I think, when I discovered that. But
I was like 11.
I was pretty young too. Yeah.
but still, I always felt like my parents like would have like found out right away. It was like super, be super careful. but-
Yeah. A lot of guilt.
No, well then,
around
like
it.
when I was first discovering the internet, there was like parental blocks and stuff like that. But then you like when you're like young and curious, you always find new ways to get around it, or proxy websites that you can put the other website into, or just find new stuff. Like,
Oh, man, when I was young, there's always ways around it, right? There's always kids will find ways to look at things that they are going to find interesting.
I just worry about like the fact that so many small children are essentially pacified, like their attention span is pacified with an iPad. And what are the parental locks that are in place on those devices? Are they?
You can put them on.
Yeah.
you can, but like I was saying, like there's only so much that you can parentally lock. Like, I don't know how it works now because I'm not a parent. I haven't had to like lock anything for a child, but the way it worked for my parents was that they would have to put in a list of specific websites, and then there's like categories that you can check for known websites, but not so much like What if just something random and new comes up and it's like, here, look at these titties. Like,
I think it's filterable though, but at the same time, like that kind of thing is becoming kind of more prevalent in the culture just overall. Like even the whole like nipple thing that was happening a while ago, where everyone was freaking out about the difference between female and male nipples and why it's okay for males to show their nipples on Facebook, but if a woman does, it's like censored automatically. Like it's just becoming a little bit less ridiculous.
Well,
and
you
with
heard the
breastfeeding
story-
and stuff too, right?
sorry to interrupt.
No, it's okay.
You heard the story of like how the male nipple like became more tolerable in society. Anyways, there's a group, I think it was like in the 60s or the 50s, not too overly long ago, but just like men would have to wear full bathing suits to cover their nipples, and there was just this uprising of like 50 or 60 men. I can't remember where it was, but they all just decided to hit the beach completely topless, and it's like, well, you can't arrest all of us. And from that point, it
We
was
should
just
do that.
I never heard of that.
I've
Do you want
talked about.
to?
I'm not.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Done.
Let's do it. Topless march in downtown.
I think it would take more women now in today's society than it took for like the
Probably.
50 to 100 men back in those days. It would take like maybe 1,000 or more
But-
women doing it on a couple different occasions to accomplish that same kind of thing.
I've even noticed in certain businesses in the city signs that say like breastfeeding always welcome kind of thing, which is sweet.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah,
Where?
yeah. Can I mention names? Is that okay? What do you guys think?
Place?
Yeah, specific
Yeah,
place.
where's that?
You guys know the Lazy Loaf and Kettle, the little cafe? Yeah,
I love that place.
Yeah, they have a sign right on the door that says like breastfeeding always welcome or something like that, which is good. It's like it's progressive, but at the same time, it's not progressive because it's like
considerate, though. It's just like it's humanity.
You don't have to do it in
exactly
public
it's
if you don't
human.
want
It's
to.
human.
And there's nothing wrong with giving a plug to a place doing that because they deserve it, really, for being courageous.
And I think the whole situation is hilarious because you can post, you know, whatever you want on Facebook. It can be, you can have the whole breast showing as long as you put a tiny little dot.
A little nipple tassel.
Over
Replace the
something.
female nipple with a
Yeah.
male nipple.
Yeah,
Obviously,
there's that little overlay and stuff, right? But I think it's the nipple itself is the you know, completely that's the last thing that you can show now.
sexualized.
You can show the whole breast, you can show everything, but not the nipple.
You know, the
'cause
photo
that's
of a woman
forbidden.
with like X's
Hilarious.
taped across her nipples.
Yeah, it's fine. That's okay.
Like actual tape, not even like a censor X.
So
Yeah.
silly. So silly.
Yeah, it seems to be okay. Like the body paint, airbrushing, seems to be okay to
Yeah.
be perfectly 100% naked as long as you're underneath a thin layer of paint.
Well, and it's the whole idea that like nipples, especially female nipples, have been hypersexualized in culture, whereas realistically, like they're not even viewed as like a sexual organ. They're something to do with feeding
Children.
humans. Like they're a life force giving
nurture and
thing,
nourish.
right? So it's all in our heads, and everyone's freaking out about it and saying it's improper and gonna like dissuade people to do things that are like lecherous. When in reality, it's just a boob. Like get over it. Get over
It
it.
boils down to our society being very confused over
Yeah.
what things are and, you know, why they're actually upset about certain things. You know, they just know that that's apparently a bad thing and they go with that rather than ever asking themselves why they actually think that's a bad thing. Because if you really stop to ask,
Yeah.
you know, okay,
Yeah.
this is something that you have full access to for the first couple of years of your life and you suck on it and it's totally great while you're a baby, and then there's a long period of time
Pretty sure it's totally great.
where you're not
after
allowed
two.
to see that at all, right? Like after 2, forbidden,
2 to, like,
right? And then
15.
until 18.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And once you hit 18, it's okay again.
Yeah.
But there's that time between 2 and 18 where that is off limits to you, right? Like
cultural
it's
thing.
hilarious, and that's why people freak out about it so much, is because it's off limits, because it's taboo, and we create this culture of people freaking out about stuff like that because we make the things taboo in the first place, and then people wig out because, you know, people want taboo, people want that kind of stuff, and then it becomes an issue.
Talking with, I've had this conversation with Alex the Russian so many times because whatever it is, it always ends up bringing it up. But like in medieval times, the tablecloths would have to go all the way down to the floor because even showing a little bit of the table leg was considered too risque.
Which is so silly, and even like in the early late 1800s, early 1900s, women couldn't show their ankles.
Yeah.
Because that was too bad. Like that's too much. Sorry, can't see the ankle. Like,
Geisha times, like people.
the back of the neck in the geisha.
The back of the neck, and also when you're pouring tea or when
The
you're
wrist.
pouring sake, you like
show your wrist.
lift up your thing and show
Yeah.
a little bit of your wrist in a very graceful manner.
That also
Yeah.
boils down to what you're taught when you're raised. Though.
Of course.
it's not that it's actually a sexualized item or
It's a
sexual item.
cultural.
And obviously, the devil created ankles to drive men crazy.
Exactly. I'm glad that, I mean, at this point in our evolution, we've figured that out.
Yeah.
We can blame almost everything on the devil.
Yeah.
This is all his fault. I'm not responsible for anything. I'm gonna play that card from now on. The devil made me do it. What's that from? I don't even know. I should know things before I make a reference to something in popular culture.
If only we had like a Jamie like on Rogan's podcast. Be like,
I'm
"Look that
sort
up."
of
We need one.
here.
We
Yeah,
need
I guess
one.
you got the computer.
Yeah.
You don't want to disrupt this beautiful collage of photos, though.
Yeah.
That's true.
The I think the first time I met you was at a community hall, and you were selling prints of your work.
Oh, yeah.
And it was primarily your digital work, like not so much your
That blue
portrait
one
of
and the
anything
chakra
photography. Yeah,
ones and-
actually, there's one of them is on the wall right
my
there.
my artworks.
Yeah. Is that something that has been kind of like, have you been pursuing that as much lately as you had back then?
I haven't been having as much time to work at it
Yeah.
because I've been attempting to establish the business and try to make things work in a different way that will free me up to have more time to make more of those kind of things. But yeah, I had more time to do that stuff when I had other jobs that paid my bills and stuff like that. So it left me free to just be creative and kind of make whatever I wanted to. And I'm working to get back to that place. And there's a lot of stuff in motion right now that's going to help me really get back to that place. But yeah, when you have the freedom and time to make self-expression in that kind of way, it comes a lot more freely. And those prints and the ways that I did that kind of work were why I call myself Third Eye Arts. If you look at the illustrations that I've made, the more spiritual artwork with the hands and the ball of energy between them, I started to realize after I made a couple of them like that, like this one,
Like
Yeah.
that one, yeah.
that I was like, you know what, this is what you would be seeing if you could see what was going on in my head, right? Like if you could visualize the energy in the way that I'm seeing it, this is what you would see. And so if you
So
could
it's
see it
sort
with
of visionary art.
if you could see it with your third eye, right? Like if you could visualize what I'm seeing with my third eye, this is what I'm presenting to you. And it just made sense to call it Third Eye Arts, art that you can see with your third eye.
Cool.
So that's kind of where I came from. And yeah, I guess stepping back to the education thing, I went through ACAD, so was there for 6 years and graduated and went to work for a fashion photographer, one of the biggest fashion photographers in the city, for about 1.5 years. Learned a lot from doing that.
Is that where a lot of these fashion shots came from?
No, I wasn't shooting at all. Like
Oh.
I was his assistant for 1.5 years.
Okay.
And so doing a lot of the heavy, lugging stuff around, grabbing the lenses,
You're
setting
rowdy.
up the lights and doing all that stuff. Yeah, I was the workhorse. And, grab this, do that. Don't do that. Don't do anything I didn't tell you to. Like, nothing you do is right because just don't touch anything unless I say. And then
Yes, chef.
and then you should have you have no idea how relevant that is at the moment.
Oh, I think I do.
But yeah, very much an interesting situation where almost nothing was right? And it was almost a show in front of the people that he was working for, the art directors and stuff. Being able to yell at me was like his way of putting on that kind of show for the right people.
Yeah.
And, to be that kind of a diva and to show off in that way was really important. Even if he didn't really need me to be there.
Who got to? Is there milk in this?
But so, eventually left that and went to work for VizTech for I think 1 year and learned so much about camera technology that I never knew that I didn't know until I had to try to explain it to other people. And tried to explain Nikon when I'm a Canon shooter and needing to learn all the Nikon stuff, which is completely backwards, from everything Canon because they do it on purpose. They want everything to be as incompatible as possible because they're the competition.
Yep.
So where you'll screw a lens on like clockwise for Canon, it'll be counterclockwise for Nikon. So
Strategically.
everything is literally.
You think there's a
the
committee
opposite.
of people sitting around a table just being like, well, Canada does it this way, so we're going to have to do it this way.
We can't do it this way. It has to be different. Everything has
If
to be
it
different.
legitimately hurts your sales, then I can
Well,
see
look
them
at
being-
Apple and Android.
Yeah. Well, actually, to speak positively for Apple, Apple and Google have both decided to adopt USB-C as their connector,
Yeah.
and they're which is cool.
What's that?
It's USB-C is like the new USB port, but do you know, like on the bottom of an iPhone,
Yeah.
like this Lightning one, it's like that but bigger. So it's
Okay.
about the size
I
of a
think-
regular USB, but it's this shape.
I think I've seen it.
Yeah,
maybe.
so
I don't know.
it's reversible, which is nice.
Okay.
It's also really, really fast. It handles audio, it handles video, it handles power, it handles all sorts of data both ways. So you can just use one port for everything.
All the technology.
It's kind of
Yeah.
like the Thunderbolt cables that go into the Macs now that just
Thunderbolt.
What's that?
I feel like such an old lady over here. Like, what is this technology you guys are talking about?
To go back to the point, like the fact that Apple has finally relinquished making connector ports that are specific to their machines, and Google as well, they decided it's important to adopt this universal connector, and all of the stuff from now on will be adopting it, but it's going to
Yeah.
take a little while for it to be standard
cool.
everywhere.
Yeah.
because Apple wanted their stuff to be incompatible with a lot of things.
Yeah,
wanted to
they
be
did for a bit,
fancy.
but I can see, now they realize all it takes is like essentially a revolution from the consumer end, right? Enough criticism. If enough people are saying like, "Fuck you! Stop making these stupid connectors that are only for you," and you can't buy a cheap one because it has to be a
You
licensed
can't replace
cable.
the batteries when it dies. You have to take it back to a shop, which
Although-
charges you more money to do the fixing and for the parts.
Yeah. Although the
Too much
USB
consumerism.
USB-C has been criticized lately because it transfers power so quickly that it's actually frying computers. If you
Yeah.
buy a cheap Chinese cable and the cable shorts, there is a safeguard within the USB that stops it from shorting the computer. But then when it turns back on and it's already surging, it will actually fry your USB ports.
She's laughing at my beer.
I'm
can.
sorry. That was
It's
It
So
is pretty cool.
casual.
it's just like you can't put a beer can down on its corner and
Have
not
you
have me
seen
be like,
that?
"What the hell are you doing?"
Dude, man, bro, have you seen that with the salt shakers?
No.
Okay, so salt, because
spill on my
on
banner,
an atomic or whatever level, I'm probably getting this wrong, salt is a perfect cube. If you shake a little bit out on the edge of it, like on the tabletop, you can actually make the salt shaker sit sideways, nestled into the shaken out salt.
Takes a lot
Because
of
it's
work.
like, it stacks itself up. It takes a lot of practice. You didn't believe me. We were out for lunch or for dinner one night, and he's like, you
I didn't say I
can't
didn't
do
believe
it. You're like, you're not going to do it. And then I did it, and I was like, boom, bitch. Felt pretty
Served.
badass. One of my finest
You were like
moments, for sure. I think I posted it to Facebook. I was like, screw you. Disbelief.
That's my one nice accomplishment.
Oh, goodness. That was fun.
But
Oh, that group hug on
Yeah.
the screen.
Was this Govinda? That was
That was
Govinda. wasn't
That was
it?
his birthday. That was his
Oh my
birthday.
God.
A
Grand
year
birthday
and a
group
bit
hug.
ago.
Oh my god. So
That
much time.
Govinda's
I feel
all the
bad for
time.
No, it was
the-
my birthday.
Oh, I was
That
gonna
was
say.
my birthday night
We're
the night
like,
before. But
I feel bad for the people
this is
who
all
are
ACAD people.
only tuning in audio-wise right now because there's a lot of pretty epic imagery happening in the background.
If you're on audio, go to www.thirdeyearts.com for your viewing pleasure.
yeah, totally. You can go to Phi's website, which is thirdeyearts.com, which, I mean, everybody that listens to this should just go at least check it out. If you haven't seen it, it's
Just do
fantastic.
it.
It's just an eyegasm, really.
It's always changing.
Look, it's them.
Yay!
Actually,
Our lovely hosts.
That was fun. That was kind of candid in a way. I was not having a good day that day, and I really did not want to leave the. I didn't really want to leave the house, and
We weren't at the house. We were at the DYF studios.
no, I know, but like we left. Well, we had to leave the house
Oh,
to go to the
yeah.
DYF studios. And yeah, I wasn't having a good day, and you're like, "Hey, let me put this camera in your face," and I was like, "I don't really."
Yeah, that was the first day you
know."
got it, right? You just got it and you wanted to.
the
try
day I
it
got
out.
that ring
The
flash, yeah.
ring
yeah.
flash, yeah.
And that worked out very well. But yeah, the website is a really interesting grab bag of different styles because I do a lot of different stuff.
All sorts
Yeah,
of
actually.
cool cosplay and
Yeah, maybe if you want to get into describe all of the different factions of photography that
We
you
do everything.
represent.
Do a bit of everything, yeah. Except for baby photos. But I mean, we can,
baby
we can,
photos.
though.
I like
we
babies.
can do baby photos. But trying to stick to more artistic, like exciting kind of things that match our lifestyle a little bit better.
Yeah. But
But
you've done weddings,
But
we have done weddings.
you fashion.
What?
that launches us into the one of the things we wanted to mention. Okay, go ahead. No, it's okay.
Before we launch into
All
that,
right.
let's not jump right over it. Okay, so yeah, portraiture. We do studio portraiture. I love capturing people on their own, but also event photography. So shooting for the festivals. So you see a lot of festival work.
Shows like ours.
Yeah, shows like yours. clubs, a lot of artwork. So the self-expression that I've made of things that I've wanted to create out of my ideas. What else? A lot of stuff. And, you know, my art teachers, my photography people said, you know, you can either be a jack of all trades and do kind of everything, or you can do one thing like really, really well. And I have no idea how I would stick to just one thing.
Yeah.
Because there's so much amazing stuff to shoot, and I have a hard time putting the camera away and not just doing a bit of everything. So
You definitely do have a very defined style, though, like especially because you are pretty much the one guy that everybody within Calgary especially looks to be like, hey, you do cool pictures at shows. I'm throwing an event. Let's get a hold of this guy. Because you have a really unique flair and a really unique way of editing. You could tell it's like, hey, that's a picture that Phi took.
Yeah. You can single it right out.
and it's changed so much over the last couple of years, right? Like even 3 years ago, I was showing Lindsay some of my shots from 3 years ago, and going like, look how much things have evolved and changed, and how sharper everything is, and you know, all the little tweaking and stuff that happened over that time. It's exponential, right? Like the quality of the work has been exponential from what it was, and just keeps getting better and better. The more I do different stuff and keep experimenting and keep shooting with different gear, trying out new things, tweaking my post-processing over and over and over. I had a very kind of warm yellow style for a while that I really liked the way it felt, and then I kind of got over it. And you know, like there was a time that it just didn't feel right anymore. It felt perfect for a long time,
circa 2012
and everyone knew by like this exactly this
style,
kind of the warm style. That was obviously one of my shots because I was using that style for a long time. And then one day I was over it. And
it's just like Bass Nectar, like doing like Dubosca and all those really pretty melodic songs that he was known for, and then all of a sudden he's like,
done with that.
Done with that.
You can't really criticize, right? Because you have to respect the fact that artists of all kinds will evolve through different styles and tiers of what they want to
and gain
choose to express.
inspiration from a variety of different things, and one thing happens and you take a certain shot of something and process it in a certain way, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh my god, I can do this with this, and what?
And it makes me nervous about this lady because she's learning so fast. And
nervous.
And well, you know, I'm teaching her very well, and she's a very fast learner, so she's gotten really good really fast.
How's it been, you guys working together?
It's a push and pull, right?
You're like, real good.
Part of me, there's a certain part of me that doesn't want to just give her all my secrets, right?
Tell me about it.
Because those secrets took, 8 to 10 years to kind of work out through no one telling me the stuff.
Do you guys bicker?
Me having to like wiggle it out from, here and there and figure stuff out. Yeah, of course we do. But then I kind of realized one day, I'm like, well, it's okay to have you coming up so fast because I should be progressing just as fast. I should be moving ahead of where I am right now.
Right.
And it's a good way to keep me on my toes and keep me from not stagnating, because by the time you get to where I am now, I should be farther than that, right?
Yeah.
And if I'm not, then something's wrong.
Let me just state that this lovely gentleman was not my first introduction to photography. It was actually the only thing that I had an interest and passion for in my younger years. I wasn't put into any kind of
stretching the thing, Kelly.
sport or like music or anything at all. And then I found photography just randomly through taking a picture of something and being like, that looks kind of cool. I should do more of this. So I graduated from using, a shitty little point and shoot digital camera all the way up to my dad buying me a really nice DSLR for my birthday one year, and absolutely fell in love with it.
Is that the camera you still have, or have you
No, I
upgraded?
sold it. I sold it to buy other equipment, but I don't know. I had gone through a lot of, interesting change in my adolescent years, as everyone does, and kind of came to the conclusion one day. I realized that a lot of people that I knew didn't see things the way I saw them. Not to speak, arrogantly, but I remember I was walking with some friends, and I was just blown away by the clouds. And it was nothing special. It wasn't like, a majestic mountain sunset or anything, but they were just really cool. And I was like, oh man, you guys, these clouds are so cool. And they're like, they're just clouds.
What are you
And I was like,
smoking?
what?
I'll have two of whatever she's having.
I was like, they're just clouds? What do you want? Huh? And in that moment, I was like, people that I know, people I'm surrounded with, aren't seeing the things I'm seeing. And I realized at that point that photography could be a window and a chance to really exploit that. And if you take a photo, exploit and explore it, right? Like, if you take a proper photo, if you do it well, you can actually in that instant stop life and capture something that can hit someone in the face and make them think something differently and feel something differently for just a second.
That's the whole idea behind art in general, like whether it's photography or music or painting or drawing. Just for that moment, you take a person out of reality and make them feel goosebumps. Like Tanner and I talk about this all the time. Is it Hans Zimmer that did that piece that was Inception?
Yeah, Time it's a track called Time by Hans Zimmer, and it's like people would regard it as the theme song or the song that's always kind of tied to.
It's like
Inception.
So.
We could probably bring it up.
I don't remember.
I kind of want to because it's worth it.
You could throw it. It'll just come out of laptop speakers, but at least she'll get an idea. It's on our.
Maybe
iTunes.
we can edit it in after the.
It's on iTunes, Kelly.
It's on iTunes. It's just like such an epic, moving piece of music, and especially when it comes to classically composed music with an entire orchestra. Yeah. I totally get it, I do, but it's not the kind of thing that I generally listen to. But there's just something about this particular one that's like, why is this making me cry right now?
It evokes emotion. It evokes an emotional response, and if you can learn enough of how to evoke a certain type of emotional response, you can effect a change in someone. And if you can effect a change in someone, you can potentially change how they think and change their life. And that's a huge, huge deal. Like,
Here, I'll skip ahead a bit.
Oh God, I'm really gonna like this, aren't I?
I should have brought the speaker down.
Is today Thursday?
Yeah,
no, tomorrow's Thursday.
Yeah, today is Wednesday. Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Does anybody really say Wednesday?
I'm gonna start doing it now, just to see how people
it's like
react.
aluminum and aluminium. There's letters in there that don't exist, but that's how British people say it.
So this won't overtake our talking?
Well, Callie was just throwing on this track that we were talking about.
It's used in like every single inspirational video you've ever seen on YouTube and
That's
stuff.
That's like one of my first introductions to electronic music was, of course, the Deadmau 5. Deadmau 5. And I remember a friend of mine who was inside joke, everyone. I remember a friend of mine was like, "Oh, you have to hear this song. I have to play this song for you." And I was like, "Okay, whatever, just play it." And if anyone, I'm sure a lot of people have heard this, Strobe by Deadmau5. And he played it for me, and I was just like, what the fuck is this sound? And it catapulted me into an entire world of emotion through music that I had never experienced before. And if you know how to do it, you're kind of like a magician and an apothecary at the same time. You're throwing in a little bit of this and a little bit of this, and if you know through experience and understanding how someone might react to a certain ingredient, you put that in just the right way and you feed it to someone and then they feel something.
Especially when it comes to progressive music like Deadmau5, like stuff that where it's like it'll go for 8 bars and then one more thing and then one more thing and then maybe another little tiny thing that you might not even notice that much, but there's still, you could tell that something's changed.
It's intense and atmospheric, and it makes it colors your field of view, so to speak.
That was Benny Benassi for me as a kid.
Oh God, yeah. Satisfaction. What?
I didn't.
An anger fist. I don't want to talk about that.
I didn't
though.
get into electronic music until pretty much after I was done ACAD, or like right near the end, you know. But still, at the time, I became an audiophile in my last couple of years, and I started investing in like $500 in-ear headphones, and it got to the point where I was actually making my own line out cables from my iPhone. I was actually opening up little circuit boards and getting my own 30-pin connectors and stuff like that, because the audio quality of where it let out in the headphones, like the internal components of the iPhone 4 were great, but the headphone jack stuff like really messed up the quality on the way out, whereas if you had the audio going at the bottom, it was way better.
Right.
So I was actually, you know, part of what they taught us in ACAD in the Media Arts and Digital Technologies was how to create circuit boards and how to do your own soldering and stuff like that. And I was soldering my own cables to go at the bottom and run through an amplifier, a headphone amplifier, to give me like the best possible quality sound. Because while I was going through that, I realized, part of what's going to really enhance my artistic creativity is having the highest possible quality audio running into my ears and listening to this music in that way that I can get the best experience. So in every way enhancing my experience. And music that you listen to will definitely enhance your overall experience.
Oh yeah.
And so
we all know what it's like to throw on, like when you're driving or something at night, and there's just like that perfect song that you throw on, and just your heart just bleeds. It pulls all that emotion and creativity and inspiration out. It's one of the most invigorating and intoxicating feelings that you can experience as a human, is just being caught up by music.
Yeah.
Especially since it's become such a prevalent thing in our culture. Like, music has always been a thing and a big thing for people, but I mean, this could just be my limited perspective on being, living in this particular era, but it feels like music has become such a center point for so many people in their everyday life that it's like undeniable. Like, you can't get in your car or start your day or work out or have sex or do whatever it is that you're doing without a playlist that fits that mood. Bam! What? So homework for everyone listening: make a sex podcast, or I mean playlist. Sorry, playlist. Make a sex playlist. Oh, don't I? Okay, sorry. I'm like.
You have one of the better working microphones, so you'll be fine.
I don't know how this works.
No, it's not bad if you talk closer.
I'm looking at the waveforms, and Lizzie's like,
sorry.
It's okay.
Sad-eyed.
Ignorance.
No, but it's true though. And even like looking back at like the rock and roll era and stuff like that, like that initial movement of this weird underground music that was considered satanic. Like
the devil's music.
The Beatles were considered satanic, for
Johnny
fuck's
Cash.
sakes. Like, yeah, exactly.
Take your clothes off.
Just crazy stuff like that, and the same kind of underground movement that we're experiencing right now with our weird computer glitchiness,
weird sounds. We can literally take a sound and bend it and do this thing and insert this and break it here and
you can make words with computer voices.
One day, like a long time ago, when I first got into electronic music, I was like, I'm gonna be a producer one day, and now I look at it and I'm like, nope. I'm just gonna let the people who've already done that take care of it, because that's just way too much stuff for me to try to figure out.
I picked up a camera one day and started taking a lot of photography pictures with my shitty little point and shoot digital camera, being like, look at these flowers, I'm artistic, I'm gonna be a photographer.
That's where I started.
And I'm like, now I'm gonna be a music producer, so we're on opposite ends of the spectrum.
Which is perfect. You can make my music for me, and then I'll go take the pictures for you.
Great.
High five.
Nice.
Yes. Yeah.
Love it.
All right. Well, let's dig into some other stuff.
The Fest 300 just announced its winners of the top 300 festivals.
Yeah. In case anybody's wondering, Fest 300 is a website that ranks the 300 best, air quotes, the best festivals in the world, like music festivals. And I guess as years go on, they feel that the list gets outdated. They decided to hack the 30 or 40 or something off the bottom.
It was 30 this year, yeah.
And then hold a contest to refill those spots. And a bunch of our Western Canadian festivals were on that list, like Base Coast in Merritt, BC, Astral Harvest in Slave Lake, which is one that we're affiliated with. And I think Motion Notion was on there, or were they already on the list?
No, that was a different country, Motion Notion.
A little bit.
A different country?
Yeah, there's a different Motion Notion in a different country.
Really?
Oh, so
I think Motion Notion, our Motion Notion got on the train a little late.
Okay.
But it was a different one.
Either way, Fest 300 held a contest to see, I can't remember how many contestants there were, or like entries,
Quite a few.
Good chunk. Like 6 pages.
Massive shout out to Astral Harvest.
Hell yeah.
They won it. And one of the coolest parts about them winning it was one of Phi's really amazing photos from this last year, was it?
Yeah.
From this last year was
my first year.
That was our first year.
So it was the photo that they were using for the Astral Harvest entry.
We're trying to figure out who this cat is.
If anyone knows, please let us know.
He's wearing like some sort of like...
He looks like Chris.
Some sort of hat that's got a bunch of striped tails.
Lemur tails.
Yeah, a hat that is entirely made of like lemur and raccoon tails. That's all. That's totally tail hat.
Yeah, it's a tail hat.
It's not a spirit hood.
And he's got the biggest smile on his face. He's having such a good time.
Yeah,
Why you gotta be so good?
It's a fantastic photo.
Wait, I was gonna say rude, but it's cool. No, it is rude. It's not okay. Cool. I'm just gonna stop.
It's cool.
I tried. I tried.
I think we're going to try and get a lot better. I think we're going to restructure the podcast section of the website so that we can have a page for each episode, because I'd really like to have like a really nice comprehensive list of links and stuff that are relevant to the episode that we did.
Fill up everything. So
it would fill it up, yes, but it's the way that we need to do it.
Sexy.
I mean, if you look at a lot of the other relevant podcast websites, they'll have a page. You know, they have like a thumbnail list that you can sort through.
Oh yeah, that
and
makes
then a
sense.
page for each one.
That makes sense.
Which makes a lot of sense because then you could listen to it on that page. You could share just that page. Yeah. Anyway, thumbs up to Phi for
Thumbs up,
this.
Phi.
This is an international competition.
Yeah.
This is for festivals
thumbs up
all over the
to
world.
Astral Harvest and
Oh my
Base Coast.
gosh.
Astral Harvest came in first with, I think
Just
it was
go.
2,228 votes for Astral, and then Base Coast came in second with 1,800 some odd. So
Yeah, so they were close.
Because Canada.
Yeah,
Because
because Western
Canada.
Canada is killing it, man. This
Killing
music
it.
culture and this electronic scene.
But just in general,
festivals.
it's an amazing thing to see my photo on
Yeah.
a site that's representing like the global festival community. and
Yeah,
so
that is
yeah,
super
that's
cool.
pretty nuts, hey.
fully international.
Yeah, when Phi got here earlier today,
Wow.
I was like, "How's your day?" And he was, just like no words. He's like, "Man, it's been amazing."
I've been pacing around the house like all day and just trying to keep my thoughts, like trying to organize some stuff, but it's been really difficult because I'm thinking of so many things and so
Because
excited
killing it.
and a lot of stuff. Yeah, because killing it.
Yeah.
And
And then there's also the Google freelancing
Yeah.
with what was just published on
Yeah.
there.
How did you get? First explain what that is, and then
Yeah.
how did you come across that opportunity?
so 2 years ago, pretty much like right when I was moving in with Lindsay,
More than 2
I think
years ago now.
yeah,
like 2.5.
a little over 2 years
Jesus.
ago. I had been looking for other work. I left VizTech. Well, got laid off because they got rid of like 33% of the company in one day.
BizTech is a camera store,
Yeah,
just so everyone
sorry,
knows.
camera store.
Go get your
The
prints.
camera store I was working at, and
Sorry.
so was looking for other sources of work in the photography field and found these guys who contacted me about coming to have an interview, and they were doing Google Business View, which is a virtual tour of a business on Google Maps. So basically the same way that we have Google Street View, this will walk you right into the front door of a business and take you on a virtual walkthrough
360
of the business.
panoramic
360
virtual tour.
panoramic.
Actually, Callie, if you want to bring up,
Yeah.
because
I'll
as
tell
of
you the
last
one
night,
to go to.
your first
Yeah.
one went live.
Midnight last night is
Cool.
when the first one went live, and I didn't expect them to go up right away. I didn't expect
go
it
to
to be
Google.
published right away. I
Yeah.
thought I had to have
Yeah.
10 submitted, but we kind
And
of
type
misunderstood a
in,
little bit of what they were
crop.
asking for.
Food growing revolution.
Cool. Yeah, we're gonna bring it up on the screen again.
And then if you go
for the
to the
people
right hand
just
side where it
listening
says
to
see
audio.
inside.
This would be a good one to watch on YouTube because it's got a lot of content. We planned to have a lot of content on this
So
one.
if you,
We want to try and
normally
utilize
it
this projector
starts
screen
right
as much
at
as
the
we
outside
can.
of the business, and you can actually walk right in through it. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So if you you can click on the arrows and it'll take you forward. It'll take you around the
Oh,
store.
cool.
See what other-
Like there's the forward
click
arrow, so just
one
click
forward.
because there's specific spots, right?
Right.
Okay,
Right.
so
now
it-
hold it down and move around.
Hold it down
Hold-
and move
hold
the
it.
Oh,
cursor
you can.
up.
Oh,
Yeah.
what? That's
So
not.
it
I was
acts
clicking on it
exactly-
before and I didn't
Look
notice
all
this.
the way around. Look
Oh,
everywhere.
I did not get to do this when I
Yeah.
looked at it. This is way
Look up, look
cooler.
down.
It acts exactly as Google Street View, like when you kind of you can click the arrows to move,
You
one
can
or two
click-
houses down.
That path
and
right
look
there.
around.
There's an arrow you can click
There's
forward
an
to walk
arrow.
through.
Oh yeah, look like a little
And
X.
just to give a shout out to the store that's currently being listed, Crop YYC, as it's also known, is a food growing revolution store in Calgary. It's a really good place to get anything really having to do with permaculture, growing food indoors, composting.
Right.
They have any number of like eco-friendly products, so cleaning products, hand soaps, all sorts of fancy things. I was making a shopping list while we were in there for sure.
You don't even have to go in there to make a
Have you been
shopping
there?
list.
No,
You
you
can
can
see
just
everything
shop from
clearly
home.
on the
Exactly.
shelves.
You
It's
can,
pretty
you can
This
see all the
is
reasons,
so cool.
Yeah.
all the reasons you want to go there and
So-
like walk through their stuff.
This is our quote-unquote day job project,
Yeah.
where we're working with a number of different spas in the city. We're working with Lila Eco Spa. We're working with the Natural Art of Skincare, trying to work with companies that we also have personal value tie-ins and kind of resonance
Right.
You can
with.
go out the door.
Out the door.
Go look out front.
Yeah,
Well, almost.
Keep going.
it's pretty cool.
It's so snowy.
Keep going. That's our car.
Don't say that. People are gonna try and find out where we live.
It's a nice car.
Oh, nice little
Just
sign.
in case you're wondering, Phi Lindsay's address is.
Come peek in our windows.
It's
Just
sneaking
kidding.
out, so
No, so this
and
jumps
now
out
it's
to
back to
street
normal.
view, right?
Cool. So you can
that
actually
is a little
transition.
different, I see.
Yeah.
You can transition
Just so everyone
right from
knows,
the store to street view.
winter and summer are literally a day apart in Calgary.
10 feet
Just
apart.
so everyone knows. Yeah, 10 feet apart, exactly.
Cute. This is so cool. Oh, crap.
It's a pretty revolutionary
Look at you.
way of just checking things out in your environment. So we're pretty stoked on that. It's also a really, really great source of functional supportive income for us. And we also get to do some pretty cool point of interest shots that just kind of debut like the atmosphere of the business too. So like their business cards, their menus, things that are unique to them. And yeah,
This is
pretty
really cool.
I know,
Yeah.
right? It's
And
fun.
the way that the tangent that Google's been on, that I'm sure that, especially the fact that they're feeding inspiration to artists such as yourself to help build this collective information on the internet. It's pretty crazy. Except when Skynet is aware, all this is going to be useless.
What's that?
Well, this is like,
It's Terminator.
What's that?
Terminator.
you can literally go inside
Third
a store.
time. Third time tonight.
Did you not get the reference?
You need to watch more movies. I'll get you to watch more
You need to
movies.
sit down and watch.
It's Terminator. It's where
Oh,
Terminator.
okay. Well, I didn't watch that one either, obviously.
It's okay.
I
Me
saw Star
either,
Wars
but he
this
just
week.
references Skynet all the time, so. But no, this is so cool because you can literally go inside and shop in a store and see if they have what you're looking for without even ever having to go there and pick up the phone and be like, hey, do you have this?
Stores, spas, gyms, like anywhere there's
Casinos.
an atmosphere that that they want to broadcast and show, hey, here's this little nook that's hidden away, but we've got this oasis inside that you would never know by looking at the front door.
They
I have a suggestion.
gloves, They have pots.
You should
They have greens.
Bass Pro Shops in.
Oh God!
Oh,
good
that'd be
idea.
cool, yeah.
It's
going on the list.
That is definitely one of the buildings that I've been in that spent more time on decoration and atmosphere than I've ever seen. Like, have you been in there?
No,
Yes.
I don't.
They have.
You haven't
Wait.
been
Taxidermy animals hanging out by waterfalls.
There's packs of wolves and all, like, basically
going
every
there.
type of wildlife that you would
That's
find
cool.
in Canada is in that store. In, like, on the walls, there's birds, there's wolves, there's goats, there's everything.
It's not just a store to buy taxidermied animals. It's
No, you
also
don't- yeah,
it's
you can't actually buy them.
it's a sportsman's store. So
You can buy boats, you can buy ATVs,
you can buy ATVs, you can buy
everything.
tents, things to
everything.
go camping.
Yeah.
There's also a gift shop with lots of camo colored things. So if you need that, go
It's
there.
like a day trip just going
Yeah.
there.
Cool.
It's that
fun.
cool.
Yeah.
So if
good
you can
idea.
walk
I'd
in there
wanna
and
buy
present that to them,
everything
Tanner, thanks, bro.
yeah, of course. Well, like
Yeah.
in terms of like, what's one of the coolest buildings I've been in a while?
Oh, and one of the nicer things about the Google Business View is that I get to negotiate my own prices, right? So I have the tools to make this happen and get it listed on Google, and I'm
Yeah, 'cause you're a
certified and everything like
licensed
that.
freelance
Yeah.
Google business
So
photographer.
I'm Google certified and everything like that. And there is, a suggested price range and everything like that, but
Based on square
I have the
square footage.
option to say, hey, if it was a restaurant, give me food for a year or something like that. If I wanted to, if
I
I,
guess,
wanted
yeah, you
to
just name the
negotiate
price.
some kind of thing, here's the contract.
Something
I get this
value.
thing, a certain value. Give me these things. I want all this stuff on this wall, whatever it is. Like I can set my kind of own prices, and they can agree with it or not. So.
And it's really like a no-brainer for any business because the kind of exposure it gives you is so amazing. And especially if it's a business that has an atmosphere like a restaurant or a spa where someone's deciding, where do I want to go to get a massage? Or I want to book a treatment for my wife for Valentine's Day. Okay, I can walk in the door through this little massage that has good prices but kind of looks, maybe not so good. Or I can walk in the door of this one and it looks super fancy and amazing. I'm going to go there. Or where do I want to go for dinner tonight? I have business clients I'm taking out for lunch. I'm going to walk in this business, check it out, decide if I want this one versus walking into the one next door. It's really, really cool.
Yeah, it's super cool.
Yeah.
Now, if only they could do that with brothels.
Is that even a thing anymore?
We'll walk in, just look at the women in the window, see if these ones are good.
Oh, goodness.
It's something that I would actually love to do for the festivals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the Google Maps kind of stipulation is that you have to blur out any faces and license plates or anything like that,
Of course,
right?
yeah.
So
did you blur out your license plate? In
Yeah,
that?
did you?
yeah, I did.
Okay, good. God.
But I'd have to blur out the entire crowd, right? Like,
Yeah.
so it'd get a little bit awkward. There'd people everywhere at the festival, so I'd have to blur out so many faces. And
If you
it'd
could
look a
get
little
there, like, before the festival starts, like, right in between the point where most things are done being built and they start letting the crowds in, just be like, hey, go into a stage area and be like, hey, this is what I'm doing. Everybody get the hell out of my way.
Or
This is for
what
Google,
was your
bitches.
project?
Everyone fuck off.
What was your project of things you wanted to do? Sorry, I don't know why I keep leaning in.
You don't need to lean in.
I don't know why I do. I really honestly don't know why I do.
Not that bad.
What was your
Anyways.
project? Remember the project you had about the places in the world that are awesome that you want to do the 360s for?
Even so, right when I was getting into digital photography with media arts and digital technologies at ACAD, one of the things I wanted to do were go to the most amazing places in the world. You know, the Eiffel Tower, the pyramids,
Yeah.
all these places where people wanted to go to that spot and really see what that was like and make the 3D panoramas of those places, right?
Right.
So I was projecting into the future where I was like, you know, people aren't going to be able to travel because gas is going to skyrocket. And, you know, by the time we get to a certain age, people won't be able to travel to all these places that they want to see. And they'll be able to go onto my website and go to France and go
Yeah.
to Egypt and go to these places and kind of view it in this panoramic way, at
You
least a little
should
bit.
you should invest in one of those 360-degree cameras.
It's not
like-
one, it's like 8
Yeah,
GoPros,
no, it's-
isn't
I
it?
hear it's 8 GoPros, like we were
The video.
showcasing in the ski tour.
Yeah.
See, but like
podcast.
That's so cool.
those videos though, they're always stationary. They're always standing in one place and you have the opportunity to look around.
That's not true.
I haven't seen one that's moving yet. If you could
You
walk through
could-
the Eiffel
you could
Tower and
carry
just
it.
be like, hey,
Yeah.
look around at all this cool stuff.
No, you can. I've seen some. I think there was one where a guy was walking through Times Square, and the video is of him walking, and you can pause it and look around in 360
What?
degrees.
I never
You can
saw
rewind.
one.
I also saw one just recently from the Super Bowl of the. I can't remember what they're called. It's not the snowbirds. It's the stunt jets. The fighter jets that fly over
That was
during the
so
Super Bowl.
cool.
They had a 360 camera set up in the rear cockpit of one of the fighter jets, and the most incredible
no,
part of
I didn't
that
see that one.
was that you could look around side to side and you could see all the jets in formation on your wingtips, like
Yeah.
on the one right over top, and it was
the Blue Angel or something?
yeah, I think it.
Don't, no, there's
no,
no
it's
way
not
they're the
Blue
Blue Angels.
This,
Do you know what a Blue Angel is?
yeah, it's,
You wouldn't call a group of fighter jets Blue
No, I don't know.
Angels.
What a
yeah, you wouldn't name a
you
group
light a
of
fart on
stunt jets
fire.
after it.
No.
That's a Blue Angel.
But it's the stunt jets,
Farts
right?
on
You know?
fire,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. I'm sure we're-
Awesome.
I know the American, or I know the Canadian ones. They're the snowbirds here.
All right.
But
I've
yeah.
seen that. Those are cool. My
look at
dad
Did you-
used
we
to
were
take me
talking
to those
about
things.
the.
If I'm right,
Remember the 360
you
degree
owe me a
camera
high five.
that was in the
There's
stunt
no
jet?
way they're
that
called the
thing.
Blue Angels.
There was one in the stunt jets.
I
from,
saw that. I was like, people were like, you should watch this. I was like, I don't know if I should. And then I picked it up and I was just like, oh.
Are you kidding?
So cool, man. So
Are
cool.
you fucking kidding me?
They have a website? Have you guys ever been to an air show?
It's actually the Blue Angels.
Fuck it.
Whoa!
And they have dubstep.
Actually, yeah, I think it.
What
the
song is
Blue
this?
Angels.
Oh,
It's not any
Wait,
song
That's
at
actually
all,
just my
apparently.
fax machine fucking
I
up.
was
I
right.
like it though. Shh. What did you say?
I said, what do you know? I was right.
I didn't
I'm-
partial to that.
You know, let me just, for perspective's sake, that's, no.
Wait, what? Is this
No,
like
that's
is this like
typing.
That's not a space.
It doesn't matter. A Blue
I just
Angel.
I just read the first sentence.
We're looking up the Urban Dictionary definition of Blue Angel because she's not satisfied.
The act of igniting one's flatulence,
flatulence.
usually achieved by holding a lighter near the anus while passing gas.
That's
dear
all
God.
that needs to be said.
Blue
really.
Angels have been around for a while now.
Yeah.
So I think
I wonder which came first,
I
the
think-
chicken or the egg?
in this case the Blue Angels, the
Which
flight-
came first, the fighter jet or the
jets
fart?
did.
The fighter jet or the fart.
The fighter jets
Yeah.
came before Urban Dictionary, and therefore
That's debatable.
no, it's not.
I think it's just one
No,
of those.
it's not.
Note that this activity can be dangerous and has been known to severely burn the anus and even the entrails of careless practitioners.
Fighter jets
Oh my
existed
God.
before the internet. Okay?
Careless
so,
practitioners.
So it had to have
my
existed
God.
before Urban
Used in
Dictionary.
a sentence, I have always enjoyed doing Blue Angels, but decided to discontinue the activity the day that a flame singed my lower intestines. Why do I keep doing that? Okay,
It's okay. It's not bad if you lean into the microphone.
it's not gonna make it muffled and
No,
sound
actually,
weird.
the further
Okay.
back from the
Lower it.
microphone you get, the more reverberation you get from like wall to wall. So it's actually better if you're speaking closer to
As
the
long as
microphone.
you don't speak loudly.
Yeah,
like,
if you're speaking close to the microphone, you just don't speak loud. Then it's actually you get the best
getting
quality.
ready.
When we did the podcast with Mikey, he was like, every time that he got into character, and he would put his like lips right against it, and then he would scream like, "And we're back." he got right into it. But
So like
Check
when
out
when I take the one that I
www.genesisproject.com
borrowed
for that
home
episode.
and get like this, I'm not gonna ruin stuff, right?
no, not
okay,
at all.
okay.
No.
It comes across as way
Anyways.
louder.
So that's to bring the conversation back around a little bit. That's one of the slightly nervous things about being in the industry is keeping up with the technology.
Yeah.
Because the technology seems to always be one step ahead of you, right? And right when I jumped into doing 360 photography, that was always one of my interests. One of the main reasons I got into photography was the ability to make 360-degree panorama photos. My first panorama stitch that I made, I took like 57 shots in a circle with my lens, and I stitched those together manually in Photoshop.
Ouch.
Like each one was a layer, and I sat there and I photoshopped them all together.
Yeah.
Oh my god,
I can remember doing that as well, actually, with my
that
little
took so long.
Canon Power Shot.
That was before there was stitching software.
Yeah.
And before there was anything that could do it. Now you can just do it. Now it just happens, right? Now there's algorithms that make it happen.
Yeah.
And now there's video that gets stitched together in the same way.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh my god, I thought I was up on stuff, and now people are ahead with video.
What's that app on your iPhone where you just like it's like point your camera here and then here and then here.
Yeah.
And you just move around until
That
you get a
happened
massive picture.
in the video of the planes. I was like, this isn't gonna work. And then I did it, and I was standing in my break room at work being like, it was just magic and
Reaching
amazing.
around
And I
over
was
top of your
actually
head.
freaking out, like
Well,
literal freak
it's
out.
only a matter of time before it's probably already being messed around with the Oculus Rift, like virtual reality and
my God.
augmented reality.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Just putting that 360-degree footage into a headset like that, and
That was my thought.
you're actually there.
When you can sit there in that cockpit and simply look around,
Yeah.
it just takes one step. One step to take that same footage that already exists, that you mouse with your cursor, and just turn your head
Yep.
and look around, and you are sitting in the cockpit of a stunt jet.
What's up?
Google has that. Google Cardboard. Google Cardboard has
is
that.
Google Cardboard?
Someone told me to Google it today, and I did.
Oh.
I was like,
Should I Google it?
and then I did, and
bring
it's
it up.
actually like a little like virtual reality thing you can get that's like cardboard cutout, but somehow magic.
What?
And you put it on your face, and it's called Google
Oh,
Cardboard.
No, I know
What's
what you
Google
mean.
Cardboard? I don't know.
You
Google
use your
it.
phone. You use your phone. You slide it into the cardboard
Oh,
eyepiece
yeah.
set,
Thing. It's
and it
actually a
splits
thing.
the
I'm
iPhone
not screwing
yeah.
with you.
into two different.
Yeah, Samsung has been doing something like this with their Galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
They have like an Oculus Rift type of
It's actually
headset.
cardboard. Oh, it is with your phone. Okay.
Yeah,
I thought you
totally.
just got like a box of
No,
magic.
that's why it's just
You
cardboard.
opened it, and it was like.
You can buy different ones, different templates for different smartphones.
So it looks like it's just a cardboard box with space in between it, and then when you use your phone, there's a split screen that opens up to two of the same screen for both eyes.
I thought
That's
that
exactly
it
what
had.
it is.
Get it, fold it, and look inside to enter the world of cardboard. Sounds so interesting.
I wonder how much they're
is a-
selling it for.
It is a VR experience starting with a simple viewer anyone can build or buy. Once you have it, you can explore a variety of
Yo, check the
assets.
price, because if that's more than $20, I call bullshit.
I call
mean,
bullshit too.
that's-
I'm gonna
that's
buy.
rape.
I'm gonna or make my own.
I think it's just. It looks like it's just an app. Get
That's
the
still
get the
pretty cool
cardboard.
though.
I mean, again, that's
They're
what
developing. It's
Samsung was doing that.
instructions to teach you how to
Not
make
with
your own.
cardboard, but with like headsets that you can purchase. But that's what they do. They slip the phone into the front, and they use lenses to split the view, and it's kind of like watching a 3D movie, right?
Yeah.
So, and the higher resolution the screen, the higher resolution the image that you're looking at, right?
Right.
So,
Man, the
By way,
things
Callie,
we
try
do.
talking into the microphone, you're like projecting all the way over there.
yeah, movie theaters I think are going to be a
up?
thing of the past in 10 years, because once you have something like Oculus Rift plus resolution plus all the kind of things that are going to be happening in the next
That's
couple
not
of years.
true though. I believe like the Oculus Rift works is a platform designated as virtual reality, but things like Google Glass, or not Google Glass, the Magic Leap and the Microsoft HoloLens, they're considered to be augmented reality because they're a clear lens that interacts with the environment around you. So you're not actually seeing a different world. You're seeing your normal world through this lens, but it's
that
adding
thing.
holograms to
I mean-
that world.
I mean,
so
those
like,
are- sorry.
sorry, to finish my point, like when it comes to theater, I feel like it's going to be more like the holodeck, where you'll go to like a holodeck style theater setting, and then through this lens that you wear to view the movie, you will actually be like projected, like you'll be able to see the environment in 3 dimensions in front of you, almost like old theater plays took place.
I want to fly.
I
So-
mean,
I wanna
but I
fly.
mean, it's not exactly those specific technologies that are currently out there that are working towards augmented reality and stuff like that, like Magic Leap and like the other ones. But I think the headsets are coming, like all sorts of headsets and doing various things. And when you can have something like the Oculus Rift plus a couple years that could give you an IMAX experience right
Sitting,
in your
melting in your
face,
chair, yeah.
you know, in the comfort of your home, like wrapped in a blanket. You
Yeah.
know, you're not sitting in a theater, you're not looking at other people around you, you just have a giant screen right in front of your face.
Well, and there's a very sensitive calculation in terms of like how big of a screen you have in front of you and how far back you need to sit from it, because regardless of how big the screen, I mean, when it comes to IMAX, the optimal sitting position, viewing position is like halfway up the theater row, and that technically, like when it comes down to it, is the same dimensions. That's just the same aspect ratio percentage of your vision as if you were sitting at home and watching a 50-inch display. So if you can have like a really, really captivating experience from a 4.5-inch iPhone screen right against your face, I mean, I'm sure that was terrible for your retinas. Terrible. But
It kind of depends. It depends on the optics and everything like that. It depends on the lenses that they would probably use to make it happen in a certain
Yeah.
way. Like we just went, you know, I went and saw Star Wars for the second time.
Yeah.
and
It's
I
really
went with her.
good.
it is amazing.
And
It
we
is.
went and I saw it in IMAX 3D both times. And one of the things that I remembered most about that general experience, and whenever I go and do that, is the fact that I have to turn my head to actually see the whole screen.
Right.
It's so big that I
Yeah.
can't just like look, but I'm actually looking to the left and looking to the right, and
Which
like
is technically
moving,
not how
moving
it was
around.
optimally designed to be viewed.
Yeah, but it still feels better, right? It feels the most amazing when you. It feels more like real life when you have to turn your head around to look at the overall surroundings of a scene, right?
Yeah.
You know, optimally, if you don't. I remember there being a thing with video games when they first came out on TVs, and there was something going wrong with people's vision because now they didn't have to actually look around with their head and their eyes in the same way. They didn't actually have to move their neck.
Your focal point's all messed up.
Everything happened just by moving your eyes a certain amount on the screen, and you started to lose the amount of like moving your head to look around that gave you that kind of flexibility in your neck, and people were having some problems. And so I don't know, if we created something big enough in a certain way where you kind of had to look around, who knows? It's just
Look at that. That's fancy.
Yeah,
would buy
so
that.
check
Google
it out.
Cardboard with
I would buy that.
Check out what
$20.
It,
is?
they
$30,
range
I would buy that.
anywhere
Is it 20?
from
Yeah, 30 with
outta here.
with shipping.
and
I
it's
would
the
buy
same-
that. No, that one's $20. There's a aluminum
That's
handmade
euros.
one that's like $85.
It's
The
Samsung
QR
phones, right?
code has its own little
Super cute.
cute little thing. But the cheaper ones, like the
iOS.
actual cardboard ones here, are like $20,
Plus
23,
shipping.
23 bucks.
With the
bucks
exchange
for-
rate,
plus
probably more like
shipping.
30 or 40.
That's pretty reasonable.
I would buy that because I don't want to make it
Look at how it
myself.
folds up.
I was
Look
gonna
at
say
this
if it was
fuck.
$80, I'd be like, let me fucking break.
And then you have stuff like 3D printers, which are going to change things too, right?
Yeah.
So
That's so weird. Thanks for bringing that up. I kind of want one now.
It's pretty magical. It's kind of like a
Google Cardboard.
glorified pinhole camera, except not just with a solar eclipse.
it's not anything like that.
Shut up. Shut your face. Shut your face. Anyways.
Anyways, well, okay, another thing that we should talk about is we've been hosting events at the National Music Center throughout the past 12 months, which has
yeah.
been a wonderful experience. It was one of the best venues we've ever worked with. No, probably the best.
Was.
Probably, yeah, it's was in the sense that they are transitioning into their newer building right now. They've built this epic, beautiful, like art, basically like a work of art for the new National Music Center, which so wonderfully would have been called the National Music Center if it wasn't for the fact that Bell just swung their big dick at it and bought the fucking naming rights.
Really?
It's called
Yeah.
Studio Bell now. What? So the National Music Center is like a piece of it that is in Studio Bell.
They're going to be hosting the Junos and like big Canadian Music Awards and stuff.
Well, that's okay.
Yeah, I know, for you guys.
Yeah, no, it got like
was
it was
upset till, like,
it
all
was
of
an
5 seconds
architectural
ago.
work of art, and
It makes sound from the sun, doesn't it?
yeah,
Pretty sure.
yeah, the catwalk
the
between
building
the two sections.
makes sound.
There's, I can't remember the specifics, but there's like strings or something that take the energy from the sun, like the UV ray, and then they turn it into frequency vibration, and you can actually stand in the corridor and listen to like the sounds of the sun, depending on what kind of. Yeah, I'm really excited
It
for
probably
that.
sounds different if like clouds are moving in front of the sun. It would change
Yeah,
the sound of
definitely.
it and
That's so
stuff.
cool.
The
That's
intensity
so
of the-
crazy.
The intensity
cray.
of the long range.
So
radiation.
cray.
Long wave.
Cray cray.
So great.
Anyway, we had a really great working relationship with the National Music Center. It doesn't look like they're going to have quite the same usable event space for the type of stuff that we do. So we might not be hosting events there for their new building. They've since shut down the one that we have been using. But through working with them and with Phi and Lindsay doing photography for us, they kind of fell across a really interesting opportunity.
Yeah, they contacted me a number of months ago, and through one of the events, I think it might have even been
Govinda.
it was actually the Govinda,
Second one?
the second one
Mr.
that I
Govinda.
shot in that space, and the coordinator for the National Music Center contacted me and he was like, "Hey, I saw what you did there, and I'm a photographer too, and I know how difficult that space is to shoot in, and you nailed it absolutely." And I started looking at more of your stuff, and we think that you are the person to be the National Music Center photographer to represent pretty much all of North America for the National Music Center, which is, essentially a museum of everything to do with music and the history of music
Yeah,
Right.
that's
in all of
nuts.
North
They've
America.
got
Canada
a
and North
pretty
America, yeah.
comprehensive collection of history.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness, it's so cool. Have you guys ever been, like, when it was in the old building?
No,
did you
I
guys
never
ever get
ended
the
up
chance to go
making my way up
upstairs?
there.
No, we never did.
We kind of had an impromptu situation where this one was shooting for something on Halloween, and he picked me up from work that night because I was working late, and was like, "Come inside." And I was like, "I don't want to," and then I did, and we actually ended up getting to go upstairs and have a little bit of an impromptu tour of the space where they actually have music equipment from forever ago.
Yeah.
They had a Baroque piano or harpsichord from like the 1500s, and
So
all of the
badass.
like a huge floor of all this crazy old school equipment from things that I think even if the name is sticking out, it could just be because my brain is like, "That's cool, use that." That Jimi Hendrix I think used at some point, and like a number of different artists had used,
There's a
and
lot
then
of
all the
crazy,
way
like,
back
old school
to some really
synthesizers
intense
and
old
stuff
school
up
stuff.
there.
Yeah.
I was gonna say it's these
Pretty cool.
It's a room of synthesizers that you stand in the
And
middle
pianos.
of, and a bunch of wooden. It's all
Yeah.
wooden. It reminds me of the old phone systems where secretaries used to stand
Yeah.
there and
Yeah.
like
The
plug the
monkeys.
little things in and
Clapping
take them
monkeys.
out.
yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I'll connect you with so and so. They would take this plug out of here and plug it into that thing. And,
Back when Zero
really,
brought you to
really,
the
really old
operator.
school, like the original synthesizers.
Now it's number 2.
A giant room.
Yeah.
And all these
So
boards.
confusing.
What is-
What
Nothing.
number 2
Keep
brings you
going,
to the
it's okay.
operator?
Anyways,
What happens if you push 0?
you don't want to know. Anyways.
Don't ask me.
So, yeah, seeing that and seeing what's happening with their museum, and he talked to me about wanting to make, the electronic music industry the 6th floor, basically, which is a virtual floor of the museum, which is their entire online presence. They need a bunch of imagery for it, and they needed someone to represent the entire electronic music culture and industry in Canada and North America. And he said, "We'd love your work, and you're the guy." So we went and talked to him, and I'm going to be going with the journalists to the biggest festivals that we can get to. So he's going to send out the requests and say, "We, want the National Music Center to represent this festival," and get me on their behalf.
That's cool.
And-
Sponsored flights and
Well,
Not so
that-
much.
yeah. Well,
Business
I
class.
don't want to talk about
yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
what they do and don't cover.
Is
and
the
stuff.
National
way.
Music Center like? There have to be other factions of it across the country to be considered the
don't think
National
so.
No,
Music Center,
it's,
wouldn't
Based
it?
it's
out of
the only
Calgary.
one. It's
Yeah.
the center.
So
Like,
it's it's a
the-
big enough deal for it to be like, yeah, we're building this super big building to have the Junos
Yeah.
at.
I think it's going to
yeah.
get bigger.
And they actually want me to cover the Junos as well.
That's nuts.
They want me to
That is
shoot-
so
That is
bananas.
so cool.
He talked about
Surprise!
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, we talked about we
While
talked
we were
about that
there.
briefly on the last podcast.
Really?
And you said the same thing.
Yeah.
How
We were
is
also
that
drinking a lot
not
of
in my
vodka on the
memory at
last
all?
I don't know how
podcast,
you
so
don't
I'm
remember
not
that.
Okay,
surprised
well,
that she
Vodka.
forgets.
Thanks for letting me know that. Guess I'm going to the Junos, guys.
That's exactly,
Guess
exactly
I'm
what
going.
you said last
You
time.
were there.
You gonna buy me a dress?
You were there. Anyways.
Gonna
Lindsay,
get my
remember that
hair
last
did?
time that we tried to record this podcast? We drank way too much vodka.
Drank way too much vodka and got silly.
That's probably why you don't
Yeah.
remember.
Even
it.
still,
Yeah.
Calgary members.
I don't.
I do.
Great, sweet, awesome. Guess that's a thing.
So yes, he said we want you to cover the Junos as
Well
well.
then,
Probably.
I don't remember that at all. I guess
Yeah,
I'm
you
not
should
doing my
probably
job.
get
So
Guess I
bigger,
should what?
bigger and bigger
Probably
things.
ready for that.
All
Yeah, I
over the
should.
place. The National Music Center wanting to send me around North America, even to the bigger festivals in America, because he was like, the culture isn't just Canada. It's all in North
It's
America.
all over the world, man.
All over the world, but we want to represent all of North America. So whatever they can get me into, they're going to. And plus things like the Junos, right? And what else was it? Oh, so we're also going to be shooting, I guess I'm going to be shooting the NDP MLA.
Oh yeah, don't say who it is though.
I'm not going to say who it is.
You can't say names. I'm not allowed to
But it's
say names
another
yet.
big thing.
Oh. She just got
Non-disclosure
Some
saucy.
headshots, promotional
No,
work.
you'll
Gotta
see
keep
after.
it professional.
But yeah.
She's fighting the good fight.
The clientele
He
keeps
narrows
getting
down even more.
Sorry, oops.
Oh,
Jesus.
just stop talking.
Follow
the
it.
clientele
Advice.
keeps getting bigger and bigger and more high profile, and it's really good.
Yep.
So things are picking up in a big way.
Oh my goodness, are
Awesome.
they ever?
All over the place.
My default, like way back in the days of MSN when you could like pick a status, like so and so is eating lunch at the library in a business meeting. My default is busy. Constantly doing something.
Yeah.
It's okay though, I like it.
Always doing
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
There's always hustle. Every day I'm
Every day I'm hustling.
I know, I kinda
every
like-
day I'm hustling.
Sometimes I wonder why I've gone and decided to create like a podcast studio and like this
Let
whole
alone
project
the
as well,
series and
on
everything
top of
else
other
we've been
things that we've been
doing.
doing.
Because
Plus,
you
we gotta
have
get
a
married.
You have a baby without having a baby.
Pretty
That's
much,
why.
yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to push something out of your lady
Yeah,
parts.
it's
Yeah.
just as much effort, just as much. And the worst part of it is when your family starts contacting you, just being like, "Well, why haven't you contacted me in a while?" It's like every kid says like, "Oh, I'm sorry, mom, sorry, dad, I've been busy." It's like, no, I've been fucking busy.
Right?
Like,
Every day, all day.
every day, all day.
all day. Like,
Oh my God.
you have to write yourself in for time off.
Yeah.
You literally have to be like, I'm not answering my phone
Yeah.
for 6 hours.
You guys want to hang out? Let me just let me pencil you in.
Let me pencil you in.
I feel really bad a lot of the time because the messages on my
Yeah.
Facebook get pushed down really fast.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah?
I get a lot of contacts and I don't get back to everyone, and then I miss something, and then they get upset and I'm like, oh shit, sorry, like
Yeah.
I'm trying to deal with so many things right now. It's really hard to explain to other people how busy you can be trying to do all the things when you're trying to run your own business and trying to deal with 10 different situations all
Yeah.
at once, right?
Yep.
That you're basically juggling.
So for
And it's-
everyone
I'm
out
juggling
there
too many balls.
that we love, sorry for taking forever to get back to you. We do love
Yeah.
you and appreciate you. We're just bad at time management.
But getting better, like the more we do it, the easier it gets. But yeah, still the days where I'm not doing anything today. I know I even have to get back to people, but no, today's my day off. It might be a Wednesday, but this
Yeah.
is my weekend. I am deciding for
that's
myself
important,
that
too.
I'm taking this day.
It's important to be able to give yourself like a moment to be like, no, I'm not gonna let my professional life ruin, a little slice of just not having to think
Just
about it.
chilling out.
I have to have days off.
And
Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess like you inherently spend a lot of time in front of your computer with your editing. Last time I was at your place, you were bragging about your chair. You were just like
We got a fancy new
you were
chair.
yeah.
leaning back pretty much almost horizontal.
We got new posters.
Oh, yeah.
You'll have to come over and see
And-
them.
Cool.
It makes such a big difference. Even just having such a chair makes such a huge difference, and being able to be comfortable at the workspace in all the right
Oh,
ways
yeah.
to be able to sit
Fuck
there
yeah.
for 10 hours at a time
Yep.
if I have to makes such a huge difference. I was using a kind of crappy office chair before
Which
that
is now
didn't
my
recline
office
or
chair.
anything.
It's an upgrade for me
Inherited.
though, so I'm stoked.
Hand-me-downs.
Yeah. And I got a nice leather
I'm wearing your old
chair.
pants now, babe.
Nice leather chair from Logan that reclines and I can be super comfortable, and
Even like when it
Love it.
like because we have our kind of like studio set up in our bedroom where that's where I make music and that's where we practice mixing together and all that kind of stuff. When our room is in shambles and there's laundry everywhere and there's all sorts of whatever old dinner food and everything, it's just okay that it doesn't get that extreme, forgive me, but it's not as easy to get into a creative headspace when your entire life is in shambles and everything around you is a mess. As soon as that room is clean and pristine and your bed is made and everything just looks on point, it's so much easier to just be like, yeah, I'm here now. I'm ready to go. It's your zen space.
Yeah.
Do you have to do like a once a week haul over of like, okay, now we're cleaning, bitch, we're cleaning.
Oh God, you have no idea.
We're so like, it's ridiculous. We're so
You know, it's
like.
funny when she was in Pennsylvania for 5 days. It was clean
You
the
didn't
whole
do.
time.
Oh really? It's the clothes.
You're so full of shit. You're so full of shit.
It's the clothes. It's the clothes.
The laundry
The
hamper
laundry.
was full, and there was stuff strewn about the floor on your side of the bed.
I thought it was great.
Don't do that.
clean
That's
he
so
says.
funny.
If that
That's so
spills,
funny.
I'll kill you.
Yeah, seriously, don't do it.
Like
And that's also something
only-
we're considering doing is tapestries, by the way.
yeah, actually.
Yeah, that'd be badass.
I know that this tapestry is Third Eye Tapestries. They do the Third Eye pine cones as well.
Oh, do they? I have things to send them.
Yeah.
I think we
Yeah.
should talk. We
You
seem
should,
to
because
have
they-
things in common.
I have
They
things to send them.
represent only a small amount of artists is what
Oh,
they print.
all right then.
So if you were to be like one of the
That
artists
shit down.
that they print,
Perpetual
they
list.
do Mugworts. I think he's from BC, and then this one is Android Jones.
Andrew
Yeah.
Jones, Mugworts,
What is it? Third Eye Tapestries?
Third Eye Tapestries. They're the same people
Well,
that does
Third Eye
Third Eye
Pine
Pine
Cones.
Cones.
Well, isn't
wouldn't-
that fitting?
I already said that.
Actually, yeah,
Catch
I
up.
can't believe I just didn't realize that until just now. That is whoosh, right over my head.
I wouldn't be, like Android Jones. He's cool.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind
God.
being associated by the same people.
We have a large list of things to
alright.
do.
Well, there's another one.
Thanks.
Oh yeah, endlessly, always trying to catch up with what can we do and what programs can we work with, and trying to get more into using Corel Paint, which is what he does, because
Yeah.
what you can create with that is endless, right? That's the goal for me, is to actually have the time to create things more like that, more expressive stuff, and have the time to sit there and actually draw it all out and use the programs to make that kind of stuff happen.
My mom took a course in all the Corel programs in Corel Paint.
Your mom's cool.
You should meet her, actually.
She is
Can I?
pretty cool.
She was an
can
executive
attest to
assistant
this.
to a president of an oil company before. Well,
Really?
yeah, she isn't anymore. But she worked at like Sproul for like 25
What's
years.
Sproul?
It's an
Sproul
oil
International.
company.
What's
like,
that?
It's in the Suncor.
Fourth time.
It's in the
Fourth time
Suncor
today.
building
I got
downtown.
tallies.
She was trained in a lot of really cool software, and she was the one that introduced me to Corel. We always used to have Corel on our computers at home until, I don't know, I ended up digging into Photoshop really young and just playing around with it and getting used to it, and I just found it, I don't know.
It's insane. Can I tell
Easier.
you something cool about my family real quick?
All right.
Just so I can feel comparative in this situation. I found out last year from my uncle that apparently way back when Prohibition was a thing, my family's from Ontario, my uncle on my mom's side of the family was actually working with Al Capone to smuggle alcohol across the Great Lakes. So I'm actually descended
Nice.
from gangsters, just saying.
Holy
Dropping
And
that
what
shit.
happened to you?
I didn't know that.
OG.
Excuse me. Do you want to go? Like Mike Toss. I'm
just got
actually
one. I don't
gangster
think
though.
I'll take
I'm
that
actually
side.
gangster. Just saying. It's in my lineage, so be afraid.
Just gotta get worked up right now.
Yeah, you should be.
A little sweat on the brow. I see it. Just a little bit right there.
That's what we're gonna cover. What we're talking about?
Stuff.
This stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Me being
alright,
gangster,
so
me being
this
gangster.
was a combination, stuff like that. The big splatter paint kind of portraiture that I made. It's a combination
Here.
of
Okay,
Corel,
go back,
Painter, and Photoshop.
Pause.
Oh,
And-
sorry.
More of the stuff that I want to be making in that kind of way, right?
Yeah.
Artistic invention.
How many hours goes into something of this quality?
Where's that other one?
For people listening, we're looking at a
an
picture of
illustration.
Probably like 8 hours.
okay.
I mean, I had to shoot. This is Shy, and I shot Shy in the studio.
Yeah, is our friend Shy and
This kind of thing too.
okay, but Callie switching it before I can even describe what it is.
Sorry, I didn't know that was the one you were calling out. Let me go back. I got this.
It's
Maybe a similar process.
It's kind of like a hybrid photo of like
The right.
like a portrait of her, but it's all kind of converted into like paint splatters. It's really beautiful.
So part of it's the original photo, and part of it is splatter painted in. There's a lot of technical stuff happening here with
There's
splatter.
a little bass clef right there. I
Like
see
that's
it.
her tattoo.
Oh, right. It's just the same colors in here. I'm excited.
But it's splatter painting with certain actual colors of paint, and splatter painting with masking, which is where you paint in and paint out the actual image.
Right.
So, and working
Like
that all
this one,
together
too.
so it looks very fluid.
This one you probably wouldn't be able to see in detail on the camera, but it looks like an actual
Yeah.
acrylic painted image.
So this one
Yeah.
was full Corel Painter. So I, shot the image originally and repainted it using Corel Painter. So the whole thing is repainted by hand.
So what we're seeing is completely layers over top of the photo. It's
Yeah.
actually completely redone.
Yeah. So full paint.
Did
Everything.
a hell of a good job. On
Everything
This one.
on the image is painted in, and the power of that is that I could take something like that and paint wings on, or paint them into an
Right.
image, or paint them
Yeah.
into an atmosphere and it would look like a full-on painting, right? And seamless.
I
And that's
haven't-
what I want to work with more when I have time.
I haven't checked to see if we got anything back yet, but what was the name of that program? It's like Google Deep Sleep, but it can change
Deep
your
Art.
Deep Art, yeah. It can change your image instead of just doing like the deep sleep, like weird trippy dog things that they've been doing. You submit it to this Deep Art thing, and it turns it into whatever sort of weird.
I've seen those
crazy
trippy
painting
filter
Once
things.
style.
again, what's that?
I'll see if I can pull it
Don't
up.
I've seen
know
those.
anything, apparently.
And do you remember like the Google Deep Dream photos that were quite popular, where it would take photos and it would make them all look like dog eyes and noses and legs, and
first
all
I
sorts of
saw
weird
it.
things.
use them.
Was it like
Yeah.
the super psychedelic weird stuff?
Oh
Yes.
yeah.
It's a filter
Deep
kind of
Dream.
thing where you have to submit your
Dream.
photos on the website and put it through this thing, and it just uses algorithms to see what's
Oh yeah,
in
okay,
the
that
photo.
thing. Yeah, okay.
yeah.
Yeah,
Alright,
so you know what that is, right? Okay,
Alright.
there's a subset called Deep Art, and it kind of uses different algorithms. It produces a little bit of a different product. I don't know what you're talking about, Callie, though, because like Michelle and Steven said that they got theirs back in like an hour.
Yeah.
No, that's what I'm saying. I just haven't checked.
Oh, okay.
I haven't looked
Sent
yet.
his to me that he made for this.
Yeah. You send in a picture and it just turns them all into this crazy,
Yeah.
like canvas painted looking.
Yeah, it's
So
actually
it's like an Instagram filter,
phenomenally
except
beautiful.
But
different.
extreme.
Yeah, that's pretty
And,
intense.
Like
So-
for the most hardcore lunges you've ever had to take a picture of.
So these use
How like,
algorithms
this
to
is what we have
repaint
now.
and stuff like that. And
I like that one.
but I mean, the hand drawing ones allow you
And
the
that
power
one.
to take certain things that are or are not in the image. Probably Photoshop a bunch of stuff together and then repaint it so it actually looks proper.
That's the Van Gogh one. Cool.
This is great because
Starry
this means
Night.
I don't have to learn how to paint.
Oh, you know what this reminds me of? Actually, I want to bring up. There's an app. It's iPhone
Like that
only.
one. Far corner.
It's called French Girls.
Yeah.
Course,
sounds
it's
dirty.
Draw me,
It's
like,
awesome.
please.
draw me like one of your French girls. But the app is called French Girls, and what you do is you take a selfie of yourself, and then you throw it out into the world, and it gets siphoned to a bunch of the artists, the drawers. You can be a drawer if you want. You have to, like, the in-app purchases are like the stencil and brush and the tool sets to draw better. It only gives you really basic ones at first, but the people who really like to create art, they will grab your selfie if they find that it's kind of intriguing. They'll grab it and then they will just slapdash make this wicked piece of art out of it and
Yeah.
then post it back. And it's just incredible what you see that comes out of it. And if you get one back that has like a lot of attention, it'll spawn a whole bunch of other artists as well that'll do their renditions of it. And what I really like is like, you get like a 9-year-old that'll take a picture of himself with a Beanie Baby, and then the artist's rendition will be like a cartoon rendition of like that person, kind of like Calvin and Hobbes or whatever, like running along with that actual Beanie Baby, like as a character. Like you can kind of do whatever you want, but it's really interesting app. So anybody,
You can literally do whatever you want now. That's the thing.
Okay,
Just
so-
so everyone knows, in case people haven't realized that yet, you can literally do whatever you want because YouTube. Oh, sorry.
yell into
I'll get
the
used
mic.
to it. Sorry. One of these days I'll figure it
So
out.
this is actually brings me to an important topic, which is the availability of all of these filter programs, that everyone has. iPhone filters where people just
Everyone's
look,
a photographer.
everyone's a photographer, and I take
Look
with
this
my
picture I took of my
iPhone, and then
lunch.
I ran it through the filter, and now like I've made something totally professional. No, you didn't, right? Like, because you didn't actually have control over that. You looked through some options that someone else provided to overlay your photo with. That's quite a bit of a different thing. Like, you can still, do certain things and have certain choices, but you didn't actually make that happen in the same kind of way. And there's limitations to that, right? If you can make something that you can't remake and you can't redo it in the same way you can't reproduce the thing without running it through a program that did it
Right.
automatically, that's very different than if you could create it by hand, right? A lot of people think of, they talk to me, they're like, I really like the filters that you use on your program or that you use for your photos. That's not a filter. That's a preset that I've
made that. Yeah.
I created that exact set of tweaks and adjustments and curvatures
Yeah.
that create that feel. I didn't get that from a program that I just selected and said, I like the way that looks. I made that happen, right? So I do have the art. I made that feeling
I feel like it's like comparing like what Android Jones does to like milk drop visualizations. Like if somebody who's looking at something that Android Jones does without knowing who he is and just be like, oh man, that's a super cool visualization, then having the opportunity to look over his shoulder and be like, whoa, that's actually not just a trippy algorithm, he's doing that.
Oh, hey,
It's
Android, what filter program did you run that through? Fuck you.
It's like the difference between IKEA and someone who's made it their
Handcraft
craft
furniture.
for like 100, well maybe not 100,
They
because
a long time.
but a long time of
chopped
years.
the tree down. They cut the
Yeah.
pegs out. They drilled the
carver.
holes. They balanced it out.
sculptor.
Can you imagine the
They
pride
crafted it.
that must have come with being like
Oh,
chopping
yeah.
down trees and like not only that, but like shaping trees as they grow so that they're curved to be able to build ship
Like
planks.
Yeah.
square pineapples
Like
or
Vikings,
watermelons.
man. Yeah, and, well, that,
Not really,
yeah.
but you know.
But to grow like an entire field of trees and curve all of them as they grow, just so that you can build a ship with them and like handwork all that wood. Oh,
Yeah,
that
Just
would-
said handwork all that wood.
Yeah, that's what I said.
He did. He didn't say anything.
Turn 6.
So, I mean,
Or however
got-
you make that noise with your
you
face.
got
'cause I
a
obviously
giant
just did it wrong.
population of people who are running their stuff through filters and going, look what I made. And, well, I mean, you didn't really make that. You know, like
Yeah.
you selected the algorithm that made it into something cool for you.
Yeah, you pressed a button, really.
That's a whole different
Well,
situation.
think of the comparative curve of skill that was required for photographers before digital and before a view like an LCD screen on the back of your camera existed. You didn't get to see any of your photos before. Like you had to know, no matter what. Like the only way that you knew how to take good photos is heaps and heaps of shit thrown in the garbage
Yeah.
before that.
You couldn't see previews, and this is something that is really interesting with the current new photographers of the age that never dealt with film at all. I don't really do film, but my entire time at ACAD, I was attempting to figure out how to emulate the old look of film, right? I was working really hard and trying to figure out the processes that would make that happen to kind of create that same feeling, because it had such a textural feel to it. And it was before digital, you had to know what film to put in your camera. There were so many different kinds of films that you could use, and each one had a different grain, it had a different sensitivity, it had a certain color feel to it, right? Some have a lot more purples, some have a lot more greens.
And that's not
Some
something
are
that
black
you
and
were
white.
able to experience when you first started, because you first started fucking around with digital, is it?
Yeah, I started with digital, right?
Yeah.
Like digital photography. And the more I looked into it, and when I got into the photography program and started learning more about film and the history of film and how stuff was processed, and started to look at, why that certain kind of film looks so beautiful, and worked with photographers who grew up with film, you used to have to select the right kind of film for the right kind of look you were going for.
That's super
You had to
cool.
know. And I've heard of photographers now who think that what a purist is someone who shoots digital photography and doesn't do any kind of adjustments to it. And I'm like, no, that what the digital produces doesn't make you a purist, because you don't have any kind of you're distracting me.
That's why I'm putting my hand up. So I don't say anything.
But he used to be someone who had an intense knowledge of the various different kinds of looks that you could get with different kinds of film in your camera, and made that selection properly, right? And did it all. They had that knowledge base, and now it's, well, digital gave me this look, so I'm going to stick with that. Well, that doesn't really do anything for you. What?
When I got into photography, I was what I defined at the time a purist, because in my mind, I thought that to be a quote-unquote real photographer, true photographer, you had to be able to take the photo without using any kind of editing software. And I was like, well, if you know how to take a photo properly, you won't have to use those programs. But then when you showed me how to use Lightroom and how to use Photoshop, I was like, what?
Yeah.
Like, the things that you can do and the
artistic
level
element that you can add.
control that you have, not only over the level of light that's used, the exposure changes, the level of tone adjustments that you can do, the way that you can edit certain things to make it feel a particular way and make it closer to a certain type of emotion rather than just the picture you took in regular everyday, lighting or whatever it happens to be. It's like having a toolbox. It's like if someone gave you a gift card that had an endless dollar limit to Michael's, and you were like, I'm gonna make art, but I'm literally gonna take one of everything from every aisle and just throw it at the canvas. You have an endless supply of creativity and an endless supply of tools and things that you can use to make whatever you want. So now I'm hooked.
And one of my biggest inspirations going into photography was Ansel Adams. And this is someone who fundamentally changed how I create.
Who is Ansel
art
Adams?
And stuff. No, shut up. I'm going to tell.
I was going to say pull it up.
So, Ansel Adams is probably the single most famous landscape photographer of all time. Any super, super, super epic black and white landscape photography that you see of like Yellowstone National Park and stuff like that are most likely his. He, back in the day way before any kind of digital remotely anything, he was using a large format camera with plates that you had to take out and very specific calculations of how sensitive that plate was and how long you could expose it versus how many joules of light were in the situation and everything like that. And just so many things. He was such a master of his entire craft, He would go and camp out. He would find the right spot. He would find the right composition. He would check the weather and kind of know what was happening and when there would be a certain thing rolling in. And then he would camp and wait and wait and wait and get the right feeling for it. But he didn't start out that way. He started out shooting what the camera gave him, right? He did his exposure properly, everything like that. He followed the rules. But he was taking it back and he wasn't satisfied. He said, I shot at this spot and it doesn't feel like I feel when I'm standing there. Mm-hmm. It doesn't at all express the energy and the incredible epicness of being in that place. Just that is what the camera gives me. That's the proper exposure, but it doesn't feel like I'm there. And so what he started doing was, and this is a little bit of a secret that I'm going to go ahead and give away, but I shoot in black and white, right? But I shoot in black and white with a red, not filter, but an adjustment in my camera tone towards the red spectrum.
Interesting.
Because what Ansel Adams did is that he shot black and white with a red piece of glass in front of his lens. And what this did was block the blue spectrum. If you've ever worn blue and red 3D glasses outside, if you open, the eye with the blue, the whole sky will be very white and bright. Because all the blue spectrum from the blue sky is coming through. And if you close that eye and open the red lens, the red eye, the sky will be very dark because it contrasts the blue spectrum, right? So that red glass is not letting that blue light come through. And that's kind of how the 3D works, right? They kind of cancel each other out in that sort of way. And if you were to see that with only black and white, you would see a very dark sky, a very epic kind of looking feel. And that's what he did. He started shooting and putting a red piece of glass in front of his camera to block the blue spectrum that made the entire sky bright and match the intensity of the other things in the scene. And what you got were these epic dark skies that, when you look at his photos, really show that epic feel of what it felt like to be there. It's super dramatic.
Cool.
And he took the photos, and then he stood in his studio and dodged and burned the dark areas, the light areas, and he worked those prints to make them exactly how he felt about that space. And he would stand there for hours and hours, touching and retouching and doing all these things and working on the photos until it felt right. So he didn't rely on just what the camera fed him, what the technology just spat out.
Right, but at the same time, he was
worked
also utilizing the tools available to edit and modify to achieve a product.
He was using the
Not
the
digitally.
tools.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was using all the tools available to manipulate it until it felt right.
Right.
And that's what's so interesting. Like, we were kind of touched on this earlier, talking about how a lot to do with art is striving to break the rules and push boundaries and stuff like that. This guy's standing there just being like, yeah, I'm following all the rules, I'm following what I've been taught, but it just doesn't feel like it looks right. That's what makes an artist unique.
True pioneer, really.
No matter what kind of art you're doing, whether it's music or photography or painting or whatever, you find your own style.
And this is, again, also why I called it Third Eye Arts instead of Third Eye Photography. Because the camera for me is just one of the tools. It's one of the tools that gets me a certain part of the way. And then it's the other tools that make it feel the right way. Like every festival that I go to, I end up creating a certain set of presets and things that I make that make it feel the right way. That make it feel the way that festival made me feel. So almost every festival that I shoot looks a little bit different. You might be able to tell it's my stuff, but it still has a certain coloration, a certain intensity and things like that, because I process my images in the way that I was feeling at the time to try to express that back out to the audience.
And I guess when you view your photos, like when you go to edit them, when you view them, it's almost like the way scent is tied to memory. Like I'm sure that when you view the photo, you just get washed with this emotion of what was happening at that time, or what kind of day you were having, or what the weather was like.
What was the weather like exactly? What kind of colors were coming through in the surroundings that you're a part of, or what was the feel of the music? What was the vibe? Like everything is slightly different, and there's a way to communicate that depending on how you edit the images. And
How many beers did I have?
Exactly.
And I get a lot of feedback from people who say, yeah, that's how that festival felt to me, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, if that's how it felt to you, and I made it come through in that way, then I've accurately represented the festival rather than letting my camera just take the picture.
Well, and these big stage structures, these big lycra stage tops that Astral Harvest and Motion Ocean have been iconic for, especially in the past few years, the colors in these lycra setups, it becomes an iconic color scheme. It becomes an iconic emotion when you see these photos that like that specific color set, especially the Motion Ocean one. That's a custom lycra top that has all the colors of the festival in it. And like every time you see that top, every time you see pictures of that stage,
you're there again.
you're there.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's almost like it's a little bit branding. It's a little bit just playing with color.
It's the challenge for, like this was my first year shooting professionally and shooting for festivals, and every festival we shot for, we were actually on the roster of being in the media crew. And for me, because it was my first year actually having specific gigs to do a thing for and having quotas and having requirements, to be in, a variety of unique settings where every festival had a different type of energy and had a different type of
and they very much do
intention, and to take that back and put that into your computer at the end of the day and spend a couple of weeks really trying to edit and communicate what that festival felt like specifically in comparison to other festivals, and just for your own unique experience of that situation was just so different. Like the feeling that came through for the set at Fozzy Fest was dramatically different from what came through at Astral Harvest, because they were two different sets, two different settings, two different types of weather, two different types of scenarios, different types of music, different people, and
different scenery for sure. So
Yeah.
you've been writing down a bunch of stuff. What do you?
Well, yeah, actually, I just kind of wanted to touch on some of the things that I've been noticing in the pictures on Phi's website. Just a couple shout-outs we can do. There's one of
Shout-outs. I like
Decomposing the
shout-outs.
Shadow, the book of that, done for our buddy James Gesso. He is a crazy, crazy intelligent person. He has his own series of podcasts.
Shout out
True
to
Light of the Darkness.
True Light of the Darkness is his book, but his podcast series is called abbreviated At Mind, but it's Adventures Through the Mind. At Mind Radio. You can find it if you look it up.
Definitely check that out. He does a lot of touching on the medicinal aspects of psychedelics and various different herbs. He talks...
different ways that it interacts with culture, and not only that, like he's had some really beautiful episodes recently on sexuality. Just not everything is psychedelic related, but it's definitely a foot or like a a foundation of his studies and research.
Yeah. We've also got Shy, Synthetic Creature.
Well,
There's another...
sorry, wait. You forgot to mention that Phi did the artwork for the cover of his books.
That's exactly what I said at the very beginning,
I don't know.
decomposing the shadow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was writing down a number of different things that I've seen. Shy, Synthetic Creature. She's a local DJ here in Calgary, kicking a lot of ass. There's a lot of great shots
Also
of
a
her.
certified mega babe.
Also
just
a
so everyone's wondering.
Her right here.
Speaking
Yeah,
of
this
which,
one.
certified
This one.
mega babe that
Certified
kicks most
mega
of the
babe.
ass.
There's a couple pictures of Josh and Totem, Nova Boris, a couple of really crazy local artists. Joshua does a lot of really
Mandala,
amazing
kind
mandalas
of.
Geometry.
and sacred geometry.
Totem is basically a shaman in training from her native land of Russia.
Yeah, Siberia.
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 Well then, okay.
There was one of my friend Clay, who is also Mary Jane, another local DJ.
Yeah, Fat Pat. Also, well, I mean, like, there's everybody.
Anyone who's anyone,
Give some
really.
shout outs. So
Let's
Fozzie
be
Fest. Fozzie Fest, a number of photos from Fozzie Fest, as well as one of the pre-parties that the
Astral Harvest,
thing was
Motion
shot for.
Notion,
Astral Harvest, Motion
Govinda,
Notion.
Defunct,
Bass Panda.
Bass Panda.
Bass
Bass
Panda.
Panda.
Yeah, we actually get to play with Bass Panda up in Edmonton for the next Flowciety show.
When is this?
It's
March
March 26th. You guys
I'll
should
be
come.
there.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Cool. You
I'm
guys gonna
going.
come shoot
Oh wait,
it?
is
Or
that
you-
the day? Oh yeah, you don't know your surprises yet.
Oh, I like surprises.
He doesn't know what it is. I keep reminding him. He's like,
Interesting.
"What is it?" And I don't tell him, and then a week later he
you'll
forgets,
be
and I
there?
remind him. Apparently, I guess
Cool.
so. What day is it?
It's March 26th. It's a
What day
Friday.
is that? Okay.
Friday, March 26th.
guess we're going up to
Anybody
that,
wants to
too.
come out to Edmonton, hang out with us,
I don't
listen
know.
to
Yeah,
some
I don't know what's going on.
jams.
It's shh. They haven't announced it publicly, but the next Flowciety party is March 26th. So just mark your calendars. That's not spoiler alert. It's just a
But
mark
don't
your
tell
calendar.
anyone.
But you don't know that.
Flowciety is the crew that did the stage upstairs for our New Year's Eve show, which
They've also
was
done
phenomenal.
stuff at Freezer Burn.
Motion Notion. They're there
They
too.
have-
They're
Motion
right
Notion.
next to our campsite.
Relentless amounts of passion and drive, and they're going to do some pretty beautiful things this year as well. So you guys should know that name. Mad shout out to those cats.
Yeah, bro.
And what are we just doing? Shout out hour? We should do a
guess
shout out
so.
to Grasshopper.
Shout
Big
out to
Rock,
Dollar Store Goldfish.
Dollar Store
snacks.
Goldfish, and
And the liquor store around the corner that charges too much for their 8-packs.
Hey man, the
you went
liquor
to the
stores
wrong
just
one.
went up in
I guess
general.
so.
Well, yeah, no, liquor went up in this.
If it's
in
not local,
everywhere.
if it's not like West Coast home brewed, then the taxes went up on it. True story.
Smack. Well, you want to wrap it up?
Yeah.
Well, one thing I want to, I guess, sneak peek. We figured that we'd save it for a whole separate podcast, but
Yeah.
Phi here is 32nd degree.
Yeah,
Freemason?
32nd degree Freemason.
That's a whole podcast in its own,
That was
probably.
33rd.
No, 30.
Oh, okay.
As
yet.
well
Someone who I
as,
know.
Someday.
Phi is probably one of the most prominent members of our community that I've seen that's been keeping along with and speaking out with the Zeitgeist movement. I want to do a podcast on that stuff because I don't know much about it, and I really want to,
Yeah.
I could just shoot the shit with you for 2 hours on that, like, just on
Easily.
our own accord, but it would be pretty sweet if we could do an episode with it. So I think we're going to get Rasmus in.
Rasmus
Well,
Holmstrand.
we have to talk to him first. But
Yeah,
I mean,
We
sure.
already
down.
sold them out.
I could
sorry.
literally, you could just sit a microphone in front of me and I could sit and talk for 2
About
hours straight
anything.
Yep.
about Freemasonry, the Zeitgeist movement,
Literally
Evolver,
anything.
Occupy, and the overall community and what's going on in the world
Right.
and what's wrong with it, why things need to change, and like, yeah, just everything.
Yeah,
So
and
we
we
need to have a
figured-
whole podcast about
Figured that would be better left to its own podcast rather than scattering that in this, because I think we're like an hour and 45, I think.
146.55.
So-
Joe Rogan ain't got nothing on that.
Joe Rogan has 3.
Joe Rogan can come hang out with us if he wants to. I'll make him hot chocolate
We
with
should get Joe
coconut
Rogan on the
oil.
podcast. That'd be awesome.
That would be sweet. I mean, he's a major inspiration, and like his format, just his,
Yeah,
his
we'll talk.
general
He's cool.
fuck offery. Yeah, I love that dude. But
Gun to my head,
gun to your head.
I would. No, I'm just kidding.
I don't get the reference.
Don't worry about it.
Also, I drew a picture.
Oh,
2 pictures.
Did you see my demonic?
that's
Bird.
like
It's a bird and a
really evil
picture.
bird.
I turned it into like a double
Okay,
shitting
all
bird.
right.
Hey, it wasn't evil before.
I know.
All right, let's do a
Callie.
nice smooth outro on this one.
Jesus.
which is,
Yeah,
right.
right.
change of pace from the last one, because by the end of the last one we had pretty much an
too much
entire bottle of
vodka.
vodka. Plus, it was that we did 2 podcasts in a row that time. We did it right after the one we did with Default.
That's where the problem started. If we would have just done one podcast at a time, we would have gone through half a bottle of vodka and probably still been okay.
And a whole jar of jelly beans.
I had fun, but
Speaking of defunk, that's who I got my beautiful, nice new leather chair from.
all right.
And I decided that I'm so in love with the chair that I'm doing a photo shoot exchange for him instead of what he was
Sweet.
asking for. And
Did you just decide this now and he doesn't know yet?
No, he knows. We talked about it. I said, well, I could give you this
By
amount
the way,
of money.
Logan.
I said I could give you this amount of money, but I could also do promo work for you, and I'd like to promote you because you're awesome, and it would be worth like 3 times as much.
He's
And
on
it
the
would-
first leg of his tour this weekend.
Yeah, that's right.
Which is
Yeah,
pretty
he's not going to be
awesome.
here for the Bass Bus show
Yeah.
on the weekend, eh?
No.
I really wanted to get those guys in soon enough before the show to be able to plug this 1.1 show.
Well, we can
but-
still plug it.
Well, we can plug it, yeah, but it's not going to come out until after.
You're probably right.
But yeah, for anybody listening to this, because this is probably going to be the next one we release. The reason for the delay, everything stemming from like us hosting the Random Rab event was, that just took a bunch of our time and various life challenges. But we also happened to pour some water into the computer that we were using to render the podcasts. The room filled with smoke. It was really bad.
It was blue.
The computer. I think we get the computer back tomorrow. Sean, and the worst part was it was not our computer. So
Yeah.
yeah, we've
Don't
had some delays.
Don't put houseplants on your office desk.
Well, it's one of those computers that you're not supposed to water.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I know. And
Your roommates will
Just-
come and
I
water
didn't
your
read the
plants out of
instructions.
courtesy if you leave plants on top of your computer desk. Let's put it that way.
Yeah,
Don't
kinda-
do that.
we had a house plant that was on the desk. Didn't have a catch plate under it for the water because it had just been replanted. Watered the plant while rendering a podcast. Water leaked out through the bottom of the pot, through the desk, through the grommet hole where the wires go through,
We left the room for like
into the top
2
of the
minutes.
computer,
Holy
into the
hot
power
shit.
supply, into the graphics card, into the motherboard.
We left the room for 2 minutes. We come back in. Tanner sits down at the computer. The screen is black. We smell burning plastic, and he's like, "Oh no, 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 no!"
Yeah, it was terrible. So
That's a lot of no's.
It was
Dihydrogen
a lot of
monoxide
noise.
does not mix with graphics cards.
I know I've used this analogy that, like, for every time that we've told this story so far, but like when you're a little kid and you fuck something up that is valuable that belongs to your parents.
Run.
No. Well, no, there's that 5-minute
Run away
point
from
of
home.
you standing
Run
in the
away from
room
home.
of whatever it is that you fucked up and you're staring at it wide-eyed, wide mouth, like,
what do I do?
mouth.
what do you do? What do I do? You're coming up with all sorts of scenarios in your head, like, what can I tell them? What can I tell them?
Like the
I
times
wasn't
the
actually
toilet
here, it was
almost
like,
floods and you're like,
and you're like,
towels or,
Or run.
attempt at figuring
Or run.
this out.
I run.
Yeah, towels or run.
Calvin and Hobbes run. Like he ran away from home. It's a good idea.
You get to ostrich. You just get to default to ostrich mode. in that moment.
in the ground.
Yeah.
Love it.
This podcast is brought to you by Tanner Cherry and Kelly Yuga, whose stickers are available
yeah.
right now in my hands.
Actually,
out
yeah,
some
totally. If you guys want Genesis Series stickers or Kali Yuga stickers, we printed a ton, and they're just
I meant
We're going to
Genesis
be
series.
trying
I
to get
didn't mean
merch
say
up on
that.
our website real quick here. We
Us
got all of
too.
our stickers, our
I gotta
wedding stickers.
grab some of that
One day.
Genesis swag.
Yeah,
you
you
got
want
those
some?
nice.
we got tons.
Or the pendants.
Oh,
and
the pendants,
stuff.
yeah.
Can I do
totally
the-
want to grab one.
Wait,
Pendants from you guys.
You want to make it rain, Callie?
I was
you guys?
gonna wait. Hold on, I
Make
want
it
to try. I'll
Rain
make
and
it-
Cals.
All right,
Do it
we'll,
right into the camera.
no, hold on. No,
That
we'll,
sucked. That
Jesus
was terrible.
we'll do a proper send off with just here. Make it rain to the camera. and
Make
we'll
it rain.
fucking-
Yeah.
And the goldfish.
All right,
Thank
we'll
you
see
guys for
later.
joining us for the Genesa ThoughtLab Podcast. Making it rain.
Love you guys.
Thanks, bro. Thanks.
Hey guys, thanks for listening. That was Phi and Lindsay of Third Eye Arts and the Raven's Gaze.
If you are further interested in checking out their website, I know we mentioned it a number of times in the podcast, but check out Phi's website at www.thirdayearts.com. You can also find him on Facebook under the same name, and Lindsay you can find on Facebook just by searching the Raven's Gaze.
Yep. We'd love to hear feedback. I mean, I don't know how many people are listening. I don't know how people are enjoying. I don't know how people think it just sucks. But if you want to go to our website, we've got everything hosted on genesaproject.com. And I think we have a tab up there that has feedback. And yeah, just let us know what you think. We'd love to hear it. We'd love to know how to make things better. And
Anything that you guys maybe want to hear about. If you hear of any artists coming into town that you'd like us to sit down with and interview, just let us know.
Yeah, suggestions rock. So, also, you guys rock. This is really fun. We'll see you guys for the next one.
Bye.
Bye.
The Genesa ThoughtLab Podcast.